got back from the bar with my grandfather, so pretty cool. Actually, so I was sitting there and we're talking, and I know before he had told me we were I didn't say anything to him because as we're talking about UFOs, he says, you got to be careful with those individuals that see them all the time. They're in the occult. And I'm like, I better not say anything. So I didn't say anything. And then tonight we were at the bar and it was just me. I had a beer or two, and then we're sitting there and he goes, "What's that shirt say you got on?" I'm like, "Oh, that's weaponized. It's a podcast for you." Oh, he goes, "I watch that and I watch yours." I said, "You watch my podcast, Grandpa?" He's like, "Yeah, but you got to watch out for the occult." I said, "All right, Grandpa, I'll watch out for the occult." I said, "Would it make you mad if I'm in a cult?" He just stopped talking. That's the beers, though, Astral.
That's pretty cool, though, man.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna post a picture of me and him. I haven't seen him in 16 years, so we had a good time.
I was at the ball field yelling at my son for like 4 hours while he played baseball. So two different vibes there.
Right on, man. That's why I actually messaged you. I was like, "Hey, actually had a good time talking to my grandpa. Let's do a space, man." And you're like, "Don't worry, Shane, I'll be on time." And you were on time, and I was running late. You want to know why I was running late, Astro? I like to put puns in my title, puns that are related to UFOs. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure out a pun, and I couldn't find one. This is what best I had, and I'm not even joking.
So he's behind. He's the leader of the squad, or he's behind some of this. You think?
Oh, I think Puharich, Walter Breen. What was his assistant's name? I'll figure it out later. Yeah, I think I talked about it last night. That Elf Waves for Peace, or the actual one I read last night. I think Beck is the one I read last night, actually. But he describes straight up MK Ultra experiments for psychic. I mean, he straight up tells you that you can induce more psychic ability. So I think, yeah, I think all of that. I also think there's 400 of them around there. I actually meant to tag Jack when I posted that shit too. But and Jack was a part of Stargate, and obviously Jack was one of them. There's a lot of these individuals out there, and I keep telling you, I think the targeted thing, it's about things that people learn, downloads and things like that, right? So, what's up, Ty? I haven't seen you in a minute, man. You're welcome to come up.
Well, when you say Stargate, do you mean the remote viewing program?
Oh, hell yeah, that's what I mean. Did you not?
I don't. I haven't heard much about Jack Sephardi and the
Oh,
RV stuff.
neither had I until I came across papers from the CIA with his name on them. I posted them. You want me to put them in the nest?
Yeah, I'll check them out.
Oh,
I don't think
yeah,
I've seen
bro.
it.
Yeah, actually, let me put it to you this way. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it like this. How do you say it to sound non-douchey? Like after that, I actually kind of heard, look, my dumb ass, if I wasn't kind of trying to figure out where I was going, I probably would have pieced two and two together with some of the information that I had, but I had also heard that somewhere before. But those
Well, was
CIA
he a
documents,
remote viewer or was he like a Hal
let me,
Puthoff or Russell Targ?
there you go. Let me post it so you can see. Let me post the shit. Take over real quick.
Yeah, because I just there were two aspects of the remote viewing program. I mean, there were a lot of stuff, but there were kind of two parts that were played, and basically the researchers, like SRI, people like Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, and then there were the actual remote viewers, the people being tasked with the targets, like Joe McMoneagle, Ingo Swann, and Pat Price, that sort of thing. So I've just never heard Sarfati's name in any, even like other remote viewers who aren't as notorious as the big ones that were involved. So I'd be interested, yeah, to see
Can
like
I say, here's the
other
thing
things.
though, man. I keep saying that I'm really good at information, just suck at putting it out. I've got tons of information that it not just implies that, but let me just say there's way more to the story. I just haven't got the chance to put it out. And the reason being, and remember how I tell you guys I follow my tingle until I can research and find documents and vet? Well, I came across these Stargate documents from the CIA, and that's what I'm going to post in here. And those make everything else. That's why I'm doing the freaking Jack Sephardi lectures for my Twitter week, my personal Twitter week, right? I'm going to spend some time doing that. I'm telling you, man, it's some good shit. Don't get me wrong, I'm not some hyper genius and shit like that. Oftentimes, I spend hours on one slide, like, what is going on? And then I can easily, the best part, guys, if you need to, you can copy and paste, throw it in Chat GPT, say, layman this shit so I understand it until you do, and then you can start applying the shit. Don't have to do it with a whole lot, but for stuff at that level, oh my gosh, man. It's just like, I don't know. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at here. Is that an is that a formula or is that a picture of his kid?
That's actually pretty funny and smart, dude. Just like whatever he's posting, just throw it into Chat GPT and be like, okay, make some sense out of this for me, so I can have just a coherent conversation with this person. When people start talking physics in terms of UAP, it just goes so far over people's heads, including myself, that one, a minute in, you're just like nodding your head, but you have no idea what they're really talking. They talk, about like quantum mechanics and neuroscience and a lot of different things, and then just physics itself of like the observing and concrete type of science that you're able to do. So they use it in a lot more complex terms, and I think that kind of scares people off when that's really what we need is sort of like these physics experts to come in and be like, okay, here's how we really need to measure this stuff.
Hey, I just posted it, by the way. It's in the nest, and I'm posting it in here right now. Hey guys, do me a favor, retweet the space. You want be cool and quote it. You can even at Jack because again, I'm telling you, it's not just Project Stargate. If you guys have read that stuff, I'm sure there's wilder parts of things that doesn't. I'm shit. I believe the wild man. Like I said, Project Preserve Destiny with Dan Sherman. Why this is a communication thing. I think all of this plays in. They found out how they could all these other things, but yeah, that's real too. I mean, this communication with these NHI or whatever you want to call them is legit. So one of the reasons I say Dan Sherman's Project Preserve Destiny, read the book. It's important. In the book, he has a copy of his PCS orders, and in those orders, you can actually look at the fun site code. And if you go and I spent some time breaking the fun site code down because it's not like I do that shit on all the time. As I broke it down, you get different things in it, right? Because that's how they work. And I kind of knew that. That's one of the reasons I did. And I actually, no shit, I saw a little mark by it in my head. I was like, I don't know if that's a little signature or if Dan's leaving me a message. So I started reading that shit and I broke it down. And then I ended up getting, oh shit, the GSA is paying for his storage and his PCS. That doesn't happen. The GSA and the militaries exist for a couple of reasons: procurement, real estate. That's a way to funnel money to black programs. And then one of the actual um, numbers, if you break it down, has an ON, and that's as I research what that is. That's going to be the operation or project. So I started researching, and the one that makes sense to me is Operation Nitro. No, Nectar. It's Operation Nectar. And what that is it's like a satellite site. When I say satellite site, just an off it's a site where they can contact and communicate with allies, right? I'm gonna say on the DL. But here's the kicker too. You can also take those orders and just by reading what's on those orders, you can actually figure out where he went to in his second deployment or where he was PCSing to, which was Aviano Air Base, because that's the that's going to be the European Space Command. So that's where obviously, if you piece that with what's in his book, where he talked to Bones, the second Gray, he talked to Bones at Aviano Air Base, and Nectar is going on at Aviano Air Base. So you can even open up more and more by this stuff, right? So I know it sounds a little bit. I got a tweet on that too. Astral Takeover. I'll put most of these in here so people can kind of follow along.
Shoot, I'm trying to follow along myself, bro. There's a lot of different rabbit holes you can go into. I think even just following different people, but I also feel like it's also a very small community. We were talking about it like last night of I think B mentioned the upcoming talk with like Avi Loeb and Dean Radin, but Dean Radin's also worked with Gary Nolan and even with like the remote viewers. That's why I'm actually going to reach out to a couple of the remote viewers that I know and be like, what's up with Jack Safardi like in the remote viewing program? And they'll be honest. They'll be
Do
like,
it. Yeah, I
They'll be
promise
like
you,
bullshit,
do it.
or they'll be like, interesting you say his name. Well, as a matter of fact, da, 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 da.
You should do it, actually, no doubt, because again, he was. I ran across the documents because sometimes I don't like just talking about shit. I want to have. That's why. Same thing with when I got that. I think it was that reverse engineered craft that looked like a cloud, right? I always wait till I find something that could. Same thing. I found these documents, then I was going to talk about it. Until then, I didn't run to just start blabbing and sound like a fool because again, Jack Varney could literally probably think his way and have me disappeared, right? I promise you, every time he posts shit, I go through and I try to get it figured out what the hell he's saying. A lot of the information I have, not just about that, Star Kids, all kinds of other things that make him super important that I would pay attention to what he's saying. And like I said, Astral, if Jack Safardi comes in your thread with a tweet, that means you messed up. Read his tweet, figure out where you did, and fix your shit, bro. I'm telling you, that's how the world works, and that's how I fix my shit.
I'm just asking majority of mine are just questions. I'm not stating anything
Fix your
as a
questions,
point.
Astral.
Maybe he's answering the question with his post.
That's why I break everything he says down. I try to figure out is what's he saying, right? And that's where I got to where I'm at with a lot of them. Look, his lectures, his lectures are awesome. Time travel, and if you guys haven't read the second book, I keep forgetting the name. It's basically the first book's going to be how hippies say physics, and then he actually there's another book that just came out. Let me get that real quick because I don't want to mess the name up real quick. Take over as sing or something. Tell about a
Well, we had the reason that I say I check with people that I know for references is I actually feel like that's a good thing to do with people who come in and start claiming things. For example, we had somebody come into just a meeting with like UAP Med, and they were like, "Oh, I work in this sector, and I've done this, and I work closely with Arrow and Sean Kirkpatrick," and he was dropping a lot of names, and one of the names had just happened to be in an email thread with for the last couple of weeks. And I said, "Hey man, this person just mentioned your name as they work closely with you. Like, what do you know about them? They're pretty, saying some pretty interesting things that they're pretty deep in this UAP thing." And he was like, "I have no idea who you're talking about. This guy's bullshitting." So, and he never came to the meeting again. So we kind of snuffed, you kind of, you don't say everybody, I guess, that you know as a point of reference to be able to look at later when people do start saying a lot of things, and like these people start coming out in the community and like, I know this, I've worked with this person, I know this. And it's a way to like cross reference people. But I think it's important to do that, to not just let people go out there and start making a lot of these claims. But if he has worked with a lot of the people, and I think that's the thing, is some people probably have done a lot of the stuff that they say, but they embellish it. It's just like they embellish their contributions to different programs and the different projects and the impact that it's had. I think people, that's one of the things in the field that frustrates a lot of people, is like, somebody will stand on this maybe accomplishment that they've done for 20 years, and they think that like everything that they've said now should be credible because of what they've done in the past. And I just think that there needs to be a lot more of checking people on the facts in the current stuff of what they're doing. But, it doesn't have to be like personal shit. Like, like it can get a little bit too personal, but um, yeah.
So check it out. I just posted them, and I'll post them in the nest right now. Wait, let me see. Where do I post them in the nest? How do I do that? Here we go. So it's the second book, The Great Race, Physics, Paranormal, Time Travel, UFOs, the Jackson Frog Story. Yeah, check that one shit out too, man. The cool part is, I don't want to say that. I'm telling you, man, I pay attention to the stuff he has to say. A lot of people, though, I try to break shit down just to see what's what, because I'm not the smartest man in the world. But again, I enjoy this topic, and I think I'm pretty good at the topic, right? So both those books, I'm going to do the lectures. I actually had to, so the slides, guys, right? And here's what I'm going to tell you. Again, I'm Shane. So it may take a little time, but they'll be ready for my Twitter space. I promise you. They will be ready. That's what I want to do on my solo one, right? Because I think it's cool. It's actually important as well. And some of it, maybe I can give out some of the other information then as well. But shit, I think it's important. You guys hear me scrapping about time travel all the time for a reason. Yeah, communication, all these things. And Astral do that. Did you see the papers I actually posted up there in the nest?
Hold on, sorry, give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
All right. Anyway, all right, guys, you guys can all come up here, post in the nest. Do me a favor while you're waiting. Just retweet the space. We can talk about anything we want tonight. RV, Stargate, Jack, anything. Treaties, abduction, all these wonderful things. I just came across a great article that was talking about something today. What was it that I saw? It was let me go look at it because it was super important while I bring him up here. What's up, man?
Hello. Yeah, you guys are going pretty close to interesting stuff on disclosure.
We're just close. We're not quite there, huh? Get us there, bro.
No, you're getting close, man. I mean, I mean, back when I was reading about this stuff in 2017, it was like way out there. Like, what? I was like, okay, let me look at a Flat Earth theory instead. Maybe that's sooner, the moon landing, all this stuff. But I mean, channelers have always told us, me, that yeah, humanity will awaken to this stuff, but I didn't know exactly how it would work.
Let me ask you, have you ever heard of Project Zeus?
Nope, it's a military thing that your contacts will know more about. But I do know, like,
I think too, like when you first start getting into the UFO topic, just for me personally, I was a lot more open and acceptive to other ideas that were happening, earlier on, like all the different scenarios and all the different things. I become a lot more skeptical. You would think that like you become more open as you go through this, but you actually, I feel like, become more skeptical in a way that like you've seen the bullshit, you've seen some bullshit, and like you're able to kind of analyze some stuff more in detail and kind of have a common sense thread to go through this. So that's I feel like the more that and you see that also with people who have like done this. You see people on Twitter like they'd be like, I've been this for 30, 40 years, I've been studying this topic, but they're extremely skeptical. Like they're very skeptical of all the stuff that comes out. And I think that just comes with time of you looking into this topic, and like it's just a lot of the same, noise.
Yeah, that's the way it should be, really. I mean, if you're an experiencer and you're also skeptical, you've hit the sweet spot, right?
Has anybody here ever heard of the Council of 10 Paraphysical Entities? Supreme
No.
Leader?
It sounds like Olvet could be a little more skeptical. I've never heard of that.
You ain't joking, bro. Like, but that's the thing with me though. I'll read and go into anything, right? It doesn't mean I believe everything, but that's why I ask questions. If other people have heard about these things and stuff like that, right? And the one I was going to ask real quick was, hold on, let me find it. So it was Project Zeus, but the High Frontier. Has anyone ever heard of the High Frontier? No? Okay.
no.
So just bear with me here.
Is this a weed joke?
Yeah, it's a wee joke. A book by General Graham entitled The High Frontier and the National Security Agency funded Project High Frontier. The project used some of the nation's best engineers and development scientists. This book and the project were the red herring technique to sell the concept and proposal to Congress, scientists, and the defense and aerospace industries. It supposedly was a bold new defense plan for the United States and Western civilization. This was followed by another book, The Strategy of Technology, by Stefan Pisoni and Jerry Ornell. It should be mentioned that neither of these two authors dreamed their book would be used further to promote purposes as a Magi, Majestic 12, and Project Zeus. Its concept was to abandon the doctrine of mutual assured destruction in favor of assured survival in any conflict with the USSR. The foregoing concepts, a Western civilization defense plan, and the covert efforts directed against the Greys, Project Zeus, orchestrated by Magi, were presented to President Ronald Reagan. The presentation was successful. On March 23rd, 1983, President Reagan made his famous Star Wars speech and labeled it the Strategic Defense Initiative. Only in later speeches near the end of his term did President Reagan publicly mention the possibility of hostile encounter with extraterrestrials. The importance of this endeavor and the serious nature of this threat presented by the Greys and the consequences of Project Zeus were aborted explained why if Project Zeus were aborted, explain why President would not budge from his SDI position, even in the most critical of nuclear arms reduction negotiations with the USSR or critics in the scientific community of Congress. It also explains why President George Bush, still the head of MAGI, continued to press forward with SDI project when he was in office. You guys ever heard that?
I've heard about the later programs that came about it, like extrasolar colonization, how they were funneling money to some Nazi space fleets that were bent on conquering other worlds, space. I mean, these are all like bifurcations of this kind of policy where the nations are told, give us your GDP, 1%, give us your best people, we'll use it to save the species. In reality, of course, they were building some kind of uh, empire military, like, Palpatine stuff.
All right, right on. All right, guys. And here's another. I'm going to read some more stuff off. If anyone in these rooms has heard of them, post in here if you guys want. Or if you're an individual who can help me figure out some of these, you can always hit me in a DM or you can reach me at, I think it's the anomalous at proton.me. But Project Gabriel. The project was tasked with developing a low frequency pulse sound generator when it was determined that the alien weapons and craft would be vulnerable to this weapon. It is questionable whether the project exists, but it was derived from the technology captured from Germany during World War II. I don't know if you guys ever heard that about what they got from Mussolini. The I guess you would say the exact thing I talked about. What the hell would they call it? So one of my sources actually told me that we use a piezoelectric. I guess you'd say the way this weapon that we take down craft is piezoelectric. Well, you can go look right now on Google, and one of the things they talk about is they commandeered from Mussolini during part of this reverse engineered tech. It was some kind of a death ray-ish thing that could stop vehicles in their tracks and stuff like that, and that's out there. So one of the reasons I brought that up is I swear I know I've heard this weapon exists, and I think it's that right there.
It's
So if you
it's
guys
piece yeah, it's like pieces of the Tesla stuff they got from back when he died. That was Donald Trump's father, I think it was, or grandfather.
talk a little bit
And
more
then
about Tesla, I don't know if a lot of people know how important Tesla's actual inventions and patents were, even though he got screwed. Other people took them and ran, especially defense.
they made a death ray out of it, but he didn't want to do that, so that's why he was broke when he died. But they took that technology, but they didn't have the power source. They were missing some components, and then they took maybe Mussolini stuff, and they had the Nazi scientists over. They kept trying to get more and more pieces, to get something that could make a weapon out of it. And now they have it.
All right, right on. Here's another one for you guys. This is one that's really important to me. Really. Project Sigma conducts electronic communication with extraterrestrials, part of an ongoing contact project run by through the NSA since as early as 1963, which led to the Holloman Air Force Base incident in 1964. What do you guys think about that? Does that sound
I'm
familiar? Having
sending
something
some
like that?
documents your way. There's a bunch in your inbox already, but I'm sending a whole bunch more.
Holy shit, Angela, you're awesome. That's what I'm talking about. So, Astral, take over real quick. Before you take over, what about Project Red Light? Originally established in 1954, the mission for Project Red Light was to test fly recovered alien craft. The project carried out at Area 51, Groom Lake, and Area S4 in Nevada was postponed after every attempt resulted in the destruction of the craft and death of the pilots. Project Red Light was resumed in 1972, has since been partially successful. UFO sightings of craft accompanied by black helicopters and Project Red Light assessments. So I've heard red light, and there's one more term, Zodiac. If you guys know those two, holler, put them in the thread if you find any information on Project Zodiac or red light, because I'll go through it.
I got you.
Holy shit. This is awesome. Oh, just keep on going, man.
Oh no, if you look at that one I sent you, that's every single, and that has the case number. So it's individually categorized. I have a bunch of them. I just have to sift through like 22,000 files.
This is my shit, man. This is the happiest I've been in years. No shit. This is what
Just
I
send
live
me a
for.
list of whatever you want because I have ADHD, bro, and I can just forward it all to you.
Dude, Angela, use AI to parse through all that for real.
I don't know how to do that, dude. I've always done this old fashioned, so this is the only way I know how is to read it.
I actually stumbled back across a document today that I'd been looking for. Now I can't find it again. That actually mentions the hybridization and the fact that different, out of all of us on Earth, we're all hybrids, different hybrids from different alien, what do you call them, races, species, right? And the
Yeah,
mixtures of
that
percentages.
that topic I do know about.
And
So a lot of this,
tell it, wait,
so
wait,
a lot
wait,
of
wait,
this
let me ask you a
information.
question. Let me ask you a question. Tell us how that
Okay.
pertains to whether a person is abducted or any of that kind of stuff.
Well,
The
French,
percentages and
yeah, just French and Tom Montauk talked about this, where your specific genetic lineage is of interest to a lot of ETs and MyLab programs because they're looking for the psionic gene. Um, Partially because they just want, they want psi spies and psionics because they think of you as a kind of weapon or technology that they can, manage or research. So some of these ETs they don't have the same powers that we do. They have technology, but not the psionic ability to remote view across the universe. That's a kind of far. That's not something that they can engineer into themselves. So they see you as a kind of exotic, lost technology that they want to splice and gene splice your DNA into theirs, or vice versa. Do something with that. And the military, of course, is interested not only in harnessing the human resource, but they're also interested in spying on the people abducting the genetic lineages that are known for psionics. That tends to run in families, so they're always looking for the human genome, or what makes you a powerful psionic or telekinetic. But other than that, as for why, you know the stories about all the gods and the watchers from first Enoch and the Genesis. There were giants and the Nephilim. I mean, those are basically hybrids where you have angelic or ET DNA intermixed with human DNA, and then all kinds of problems started going on. But even before that, the human species was already interspliced with all these different ET lines. Because a lot of our wars actually are like proxy wars for other realms, because that DNA is in humanity itself. We're like the English, like the mongrel of everything put together. As for why this is mostly because, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk about that. I'm not supposed to talk about that. It's basically supposed to fix galactic problems via proxy war. So instead of fighting and blowing up their worlds out there, they can fight it out here using their proxy people, proxy genetic lineages. So that's why some TETs only contact their star ambassadors. They have a genetic line that they incarnate into. Why do you think they're like wars of genocide? There's a political reason, but there's also an extra political reason. If you wipe off the DNA of your enemies, they can't incarnate anymore. You can play on Earth all you want. Your enemies are by. So some of these ETs have ongoing feuds, like what they call the Orion Wars, or technically Star Wars kind of stuff. And they've just been fighting it out, and they they never fixed their issue. So like Palestine, and they fixed the issue. So now on Earth, you have the same genetic lineages, and you're seeing some ethnic issues that you think is like, oh, just somebody did somebody, and they're fighting over that. But on the esoteric level, they're fighting because the genetics are trying to fix the trauma. And if humanity can fix it, that will become like a solution for the other star nations. That's why a lot of people are interested in here, and they don't let this place get completely destroyed.
have you ever heard of the Prime Directive?
Yeah, that's that star confederation kind,
Ah,
federation
it
kind of
is
stuff.
Confederation talk. They're waiting for us to get to the 10% of consciousness, the planet, right? To ask for us to be elevated or help for that, right? You've heard that.
I think Star Trek was like a Navy's limited disclosure. If you look at the creator of Star Trek, he had some weird contacts with Navy intel, and he also intended like channeling sessions. I think it was Andrea Puharich was part of that. It's kind of a Council of Nine channeling
Yes.
sessions. Uri was part of that too. Strangely, all these military
So was
contacts go way
Jack.
back. They were like interested in esoteric contact with ETs and stuff, and you think it was like French back then, but you have Navy intel
Where
and
do
then
you
the
think?
creator of
I
Star
imagine
Trek.
that's probably where our government got the idea.
Yeah, they were like testing like War of the Worlds. What would humans react to if they got this? And if they don't react well and they don't want to tell you, they'll say, "Oh, it's just entertainment." It's kind of like a onion disclosure level, like when they did the Majestic 12 documents, which the information I think was accurate, but they purposely put some typeface that was incorrect in it. So if anyone leaked it, they could say, "Oh, that print's incorrect. That's fake." But the information on it was correct. I mean, as far as I know, the Majestic 12 names were correct, including Admiral Forrester, who died by falling out a window.
Yeah, it's funky, huh? That tends to happen a lot.
Well, they use some more advanced methods now, like wildfires and plane crashes and stuff like that. To answer your question about the whole hybrid stuff,
Yes, it does. All right, let me
I
ask
think
you
I,
this.
yeah, I
Go
think I
ahead.
covered everything that I can talk about Ralph Finch on free will.
Right on, guys. Hey, guys, do me a favor, retweet the space, and we'll keep going. Throw some stuff in there if you want. Actually, I appreciate it if you do. The more information in there, the more I look at, the more someone else looks at, and maybe the information that says, "Oh shit, that shit I saw wasn't bullshit. It's real, right?" And that's the whole thing. We're trying to bring people over into this tent with the experiencers and shit that know the shit's legit. I don't need anyone to tell me the government has shit, right? Because there's some wild ass shit happening in Yakima Valley. Ashley, still there? Did you get a chance to look at those papers?
Shit, no.
What the? Are you just
Sorry, I'm
drinking?
playing it, dude.
Are
I'm
you
trying to
just
plan
drinking
UFO
and sitting
Twitter week.
there?
I got like 6 people in my DMs right now because I posted it. They're like, "I wasn't on the flyer. What the heck?" I'm like, bro, chill.
Wait, did you put
Yeah,
me on the flyer?
I'm about to make a
yeah,
segment.
yeah, yeah.
See, everybody's feelings gets hurt.
I'm
But
gonna
yes,
DM
Shane,
your
you're
ass.
on the
You better put
flyer.
me on that flyer.
Astra's doing strategy stuff, and OVED wants him to read a document.
Yeah, well, that's kind of selfish in that way.
I'm
I'm guilty
sending him
because
a
I
bunch
asked him
of
to post it.
documents on psychic weaponry too.
Shit, this is awesome. This is what I usually do all day, every day. Just reading this stuff. What's up, Matt? Come on up. Wait, what happened to Ty? Hey, so there's a chance I am definitely related to the small grays. It says here their approximate height is 3'5" to 4'5".
You going by
OVED,
height?
Evie, how many
You know what?
yeah.
brownies
I
are
laugh
you
at my
in on
height,
that
but
one?
Kimball's shorter than me. Yeah, in real life, he's shorter than me, but he's a great dude. One of the coolest people. But he's short as hell.
Sure, but a good guy. I
Yeah.
promise.
I was like, man, this is gonna have to be my best friend. So I look tall.
Dude, I'm the best wingman.
Dude, that was a good time. I already forgot where we were at together too, because I've been to so many of those damn things.
OVED,
Which alien conference was it?
The one in Pasadena.
Okay.
OVED. I think you're interested in this because you probably did this in a previous life or the current life, the psychic weaponry.
Psychic
Wait, was it
weapons?
was it Alien Con?
Yes. No.
Because I think Alien Con's not happening anymore. They like canceled it.
No, Alien Con me and Toby went to. That was off the chain too, man. So Jules, you naughty little shit. Don't ask me stuff like that. Gosh, damn. I mean, what was I saying? What the fuck was it? Don't just No, Jules, no to that question, okay? What were we talking about, Alien Con? I don't know what the Kimball.
Contact in the desert.
What are you telling people, Kimball? I'm just messing with you. So Contact was actually a pretty good time. Went down there in Pasadena. It was me, Toby with Roswell Daily Record. Kimball was there. Red Panda showed up, had a couple beers. Uh, I didn't watch any speakers, but I did interview Michael Schratt, which was amazing because, again, look, I'm not going to lie to you. Again, I'm not,
Jay Anderson was there too. Were you at the pool with us, dude?
dude. Are you Kimball? Who took the photo of me, bro?
No, that was before though.
Oh, really?
That was the day before. Yeah.
I freaked me out, dude. I was like, where'd this photo come from? I don't even know who took a photo of me.
Was he at the pool? Shane was sleeping on the lawn chair.
I was, dude. I was too. But look, there was lots of individuals there, lots of speakers, all of which I'm sure did well and things like that. I had an interview scheduled with Danny Sheehan, and he missed it because he's getting a 2 day long massage, which I don't blame him. He probably saw my name. But that being said, it was still off the chain because I got to interview Michael Schratt about crash retrievals, and I'm talking. I love crash retrievals, and me and him were just kind of bonding on that shit, man. So, he starts mentioning shit like he's talking about Mrs. G and talking about the different things, the thousands of things she's logged and what she'd seen. And I kind of peek out behind the camera, and I was like, I named her because he hadn't said her name yet. He said we had a witness, and I was like, Mrs. G, and we made eye contact, and it's like, this is my boy right there, bam, right, all on those crash retrievals. Leonard Stringfield, UFO Crash Retrievals, Volume 1 through 7. It's a great read. I'm telling you. What's up, Matt?
Hey Shane, hey Asher, how y'all? Kimball, what's up? Hey, old vet, I know something you don't know. Miss Angela, she knows a thing or two about the psychic program. She does. I tested her, and well, she just gave me her story, and I just like, yep, she's got some truth. She knows some shit, man. She's a
Oh, I
she's a
do know.
searcher.
I do know. I've been reading some of the documents, and I do know this for a fact. So anyone not thinking that, you shouldn't. So I will say that I've been going over these documents. Matt's right. She's right. Yeah, this is stuff I like to go through. Just like Astral, I'm telling you, go read those documents I posted, but you still haven't. That says J. Sarfati.
I'm giving
Multiple.
Angela some
I just
street
sent
cred.
you parapsychological weaponry, and this was all written in the 60s. So think of how more advanced it's been since then.
Yeah. I don't doubt it because I actually had an individual tell me a while back before I really got into this. He said, man, we've had the ability to put shit into people's heads since the 70s. Since the 70s. So imagine where we're at today. Hell, B posts numerous papers that talk about synthetic telepathy programs, which is what Scott Andrews actually has symptoms from, not
They
Havana syndrome.
mastered telepathic hypnosis.
Yes. So,
Yeah, but now people do hypno kink. But will the real Scott Andrews please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. Will the real Scott Andrews please stand up? Please stand up.
yeah, I wish, Matt. I wish. I have an idea who I think it is, but I alternate between two and it just goes back and forth, back and forth. Right now, I don't even know, right? But I do know this: the Star Kids are straight up legit, real. All the things we talk about, like with Dan Sherman.
Comanche and Puharich, the Star Kids, like there's a high probability, and they're making a new documentary movie about Puharich and the Star Kids, according to Stephen
Indigo,
Wells.
crystal, and rainbow.
Ooh, I'm Indigo. Indiegogo. That's right. No, every time I read a book, anytime that I come across the paper, I go through they have like traits or checklists. Every time I'm max 1717, 2020, and I'm like, the last one I read, I was like, is someone fucking with me and wrote this about my life? It literally, between addiction and things like that, I'm like, holy shit, man. And it does sound wild, but I don't even know what to say about that. Astro, you need to go. How old are you? 72?
25.
Yeah,
The
man.
indigo is more about how much of the sixth chakra you have, the purple indigo.
Yes, that's
That
why they named it indigo. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that
that third eye. Tell us more about
by the
that,
way,
actually.
the sixth chakra is about paranoia, sixth sense, seeing the unseen. So what Astro was talking about, where you're becoming skeptical about what you're actually seeing. Now, if you're skeptical on a 3D level, that's a different issue. But if you're skeptical and you're using your psionics and your intuition and download that sixth chakra, that's a sixth chakra skill set or graduation test. For the graduation test for the fifth chakra is speaking your truth. So if you don't speak your truth because you don't want society to make fun of you, then it's hard to get to the sixth chakra and pass that paranoia test because you're just going to be in the closet forever. It's only when you speak your truth and then the society feedbacks on you, and then you can pass those two tests. Once you pass those two tests, you actually get a lot more soul power out of it, and your life gets better.
I gotta
Believe it or
stop
not.
sharing stuff because the whole app just shut down, man. Like my TikTok got shut down earlier. Facebook was yesterday, and I've just been screenshotting or screen recording. My mic's been taken away. It's ridiculous.
It's the Prime Directive in action.
Some
Oh yeah,
only
what you were saying
superpower.
too, I feel like happens not only on a uh, experiential level of becoming more skeptical, but I was mainly kind of referring to like what you hear about in the evidence and a lot of sort. But it's also, I feel like, when now that you mention it, is experience or stuff because once you first getting into this and then you hear like some noise in the other room, you're like, oh shit, like that's something, there it is, like like you just start hyping it up when it's really like a squirrel on your fucking roof or something. So I think that like you once you get really like passionate about it and into this topic right in the beginning, I think you just are like you're like a sponge where like anything happens, you're like driving and looking up at the sky and shit at the same time, to like catch, and then you see something and you're like, there's something, so I think that like there's that part of it where you're so into it and you're so open and willing for something to happen that any sort of thing that could be related to that is kind of reference to being paranormal or psychic or that type.
It's like a child being told Santa Claus is real, right?
It works so far for me. I mean, my kids haven't got there yet, so probably one more year of them actually
Oh,
that
Man,
actually
it
being the
never
case.
worked with me for my kids. Like as soon as they were old enough to realize, like they were just too smart. Like they would set traps. Like it was, it was really an adventure raising them. But I really wished I could do all those little, Easter bunny and stuff like that. They just never gave me the opportunity.
It's a future
He's real to
paranormal
me.
researcher. He's like trapping Santa Claus. You're like, okay, kid, you've got a future.
but Astro, don't you see you have an entire civilization that wants to be told the truth and is for disclosure theoretically, but then they do the Santa NORAD scheme. They're basically pretending something that they know is not real to the kids.
Yeah, but the kids like it though. It's something to like take the fear out of the kids whenever the missiles coming over the North Pole. They're Santa's bringing Christmas presents, and NORAD tracks it. So it's just a mythology that we all just commonly accept and hope for the best with the Santa Claus coming over the North Pole and NORAD tracking it.
Okay, right
Hey guys,
on.
NORAD just Santa Claus just took out Florida. We heard.
Oh my
Don't you
gosh.
guys?
Could you just
Let's get
imagine your
carried.
kids watching the news, hearing this crap, freaking out, man?
Dude, like, what is like the puppet stuff? The year there was no Christmas or whatever with the what's his name, Mr. Freeze and Mr. Flame or whatever. Dude, the year there without Santa Claus, man. Y'all want to know why Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer flies? Because he ate fucking shrooms. That I was taught in like early biology 101. Like people drink rainbow reindeer pee to trip and see the reindeer fly. And, yep, that's the truth. I'm so sorry.
Enough
Your
about
pee.
reindeer pee. Enough about the reindeer pee. We'll move on from reindeer pee, though. Let me ask you this: what do you think about Project Serpo? Matt, anybody?
Doty, yes, Doty. You believe what you want with what Doty says, but we're never going to find the answer from that. There's never going to be some higher truth. It's all going to be some element of
What is the
speculation.
name of the project?
Hold up. Wait, Matt, let me tell you this. There's a reason disinfo exists. Doty interjected himself for a reason in there. So you don't disinfo something that there is no info for. That's what I'm trying to
I
say.
just
Now,
need the name. Give me 10
I'm
minutes.
sorry. Project Serpo, and I'm going to read something. So this is President Reagan, the caretaker's talking to President Reagan after a break they had. He says, in 1976, in J-12 report, it was estimated that the alien technology is many thousands of years ahead of ours. Our scientists speculated that until our technology develops to a level equal to the aliens, we cannot understand the large volume of scientific information we have gained from the aliens' craft. This advancement of our technology may take many hundreds of years. Mr. President, time is very different on the Even planet, which, by the way, we call Serpo. Their day is approximately 40 hours. That is measured by the movement of their two suns. The solar system containing Serpo is a binary star system of two suns, rather than one like our solar system. And Project Serpo was an exchange program between scientists and some military uppers, right? Between the Eben and us, supposedly. So, what you got, Matt?
Damn, I was over there trying to like look it up, but dude, I
Go
want
see what
some.
I just sent in your inbox.
Wait,
There you go.
Angela, I went with some BDE to the National Archives for Cash Landrum incident, and old vet Shane, Astral Kimball, y'all know I, I am in the mix of some that shit happened, and I'm still looking for answers for those two old ladies and that little. Well, now he's an adult, but Colby, you know, I still try to find them answers because something happened that last December week of 1980 in Rendlesham and in New Caney, Texas. And that's a fact. And I went with some BDE and I told Ezra Cohen and the Public Information Declassification Board, I'm like, we deserve some fucking answers on this because you can sit there and make fun of it, but that shit fucking happened, bro. I'm from here. That shit happened in New Caney and in Rendlesham. But what it is, we don't have a fucking clue, and we deserve some answers. It's my opinion. I'm sorry.
You don't got to be sorry for your opinion, man. I'm glad you're up in here, brother. As long as we're all raising hands and talking the subject, I don't care who's here talking the subject, okay? So do me a favor, retweet the space, quote it, do whatever you want, throw some shit in there. We'll keep talking about this stuff. I think next up, I want to talk about the short grays and the tall grays, the difference where we think they're from. And by we, apparently, Astral, I don't know what the hell you're doing, bro. I need your opinion on the grays.
The Greys, man. I've just heard so much about the Greys, though. Like, are they biological? Are they, like shells, like basically robots that they're able to insert their consciousness? Are they the main ones doing the abductions? Um, are they, and then you hear like they're able to shift their appearance to people, and then some people are able to like see through their like ability to manipulate either their mind or their own appearance, and then their actual physical, form is a gray. So I mean, I don't know. And also in the free research study, there's like hundreds of different kinds of grays. So it's not like one, we say grays, but there's like a lot. There's like hundreds of different kinds, and a lot of I know that like there haven't been a lot of actually there have been some positive experiences where people have been like healed, but I think the majority of the experiences with gray entities or whatever are for the most part negative.
I agree with that. And there's kind of the idea that the grays are simply like avatars or like little automatons, little like physical manifestations of the phenomena, and they kind of look like us, and so that was deliberate to try and get them to be able to us to relate with them or whatever. But if that's the case, then why are grays showing up in people's like liminal and astral experiences? Because that's not a physical interaction. So
Well, check it
Big
out.
old question mark for me.
Since yeah, everybody needs help. I posted in a thread in the nest the A to Z of alien species active in Earth's evolution. So get on your research. You need to know your neighbors, man. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't think that the Greys are us from the future. That's one. That's probably the most. Uh, I guess of my thoughts, that's probably the strongest. Is that I don't think that the Greys are us from the like. We care too much about our appearance for us to turn into fucking Greys.
I'll
Like
tell you what.
we wouldn't let that
After
But
happen.
what if
after
it's needed
after our next
physically?
speaker goes, I'm going to read what Michael Sala thinks the Greys are. It comes from a report on the motivations and activities of extraterrestrial races. So I'm going to read the short Greys and tall Greys from that. So go ahead, whoever's next.
What if the Greys ate too many bugs and didn't own anything for a couple hundred years? They might, turn crazy like that. But what I want to talk about was I don't know the Grey experience directly because I'm only looking at a second half of other people's my lab experiences. But what I'm envisioning is that there's potentially three levels of abductions going on at the same time. You have the angelic archangel genetic upgrades of their star seeds, their ambassadors on Earth, and then the Greys hop in and try to steal that genetic tinkering by re-abducting you, and then trying to wipe the memory, but it doesn't take. And then the military comes in and re-abducts you again, and they pretend to be the Greys because they don't want you knowing it's the humans doing it. They want to pretend to espionage off of what the Greys are doing. So it's like three different factions communicating with one soul. But the soul's family, that's not the one that causes trauma, but that's the one that does the healing and upgrades. And then the Greys are the surface memory, and then there's the MyLab layer that's the less secure. So you see a decrease in the technology where the memory blocks are not very good, and it starts breaking apart.
Some heavy shit, man. Let me ask anybody in here. So if I was to ask you for information on past, present, future, not future, I guess I can't do that, members of Majestic 12 Magi or any name it is under in the future, could you post or DM me information like that, right? Like anyone I'm going to post a list of known, but if you go look, I know the name of the program, was it IP? Damn, I keep wanting to say IP4 that. Oh, but I'll link that thing that I posted, right? Regardless of what it's called, Majestic Documents can be just the similar thing to what Tom DeLonge did, fact with fiction, just trying to get people in that way. But the point is that the NSA was actually, all of this stuff was created as an outcome from this stuff. And I'll find the actual the government, what the name of the government program listed in here, but I'll also post all the Magi members that I know in the thread right now. Take over real quick, Astral.
Man, I'm just trying to make this UFO Twitter week the best, dude. Like it's crazy, but I appreciate everybody who's been reaching out and ready to host a space. And a lot of what I do, I think, is just try to facilitate people to participate, and I don't limit it to anybody. So if like anybody wants to host a space and anybody wants to do stuff, multiple spaces, like go crazy that week. And all I really try to do is like promote it so that a lot more people know and kind of up the ante for the professionalism. But I'm really excited for the week. And, if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out, or feel free to share the flyer. I posted it up above. I'm pretty excited about it. And there's a bunch of people in here that are participating too. So
You guys hear that? Professionalism. No drunk hosts, Kimball.
well, at least moderately buzzed so that you're at least
Are you kidding me, Kimball? How drunk do you get, man? I mean, seriously, you're on a phone.
There was just that one space, made a little too salty of a
Kimball
joke.
got arrested on a space. I don't know how that happened,
Apologize about
but
Chupacabra,
you
and I'm
got
sorry,
arrested.
Tupa.
don't be like Matt and get up here talking about like horse piss and reindeer shit.
Say, Matt, you were drunk last night. Now you're drunk. What's going on? I love Matt.
Astral, I'm really looking forward to it, man. It's not tough. I mean, professionalism, yeah, but it's setting a bar for everybody's behavior and collaboration. Really, I mean, it's really a beacon, dude. And I don't want to downplay that, man. You're humble as hell, but you're awesome in the community and what you do. And I just wanted to bravo, salute, and thank you for those. Really looking forward to it. Um, hold on.
Yeah, you guys are the disclosure. I'm not paying any attention to the government, but most of the time.
Well, see, if that's the case, man, then I beseech you to reach out to more experiencers because, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and but a lot of that I've heard it so many different times in different ways, in different formats, in different languages, from different avenues of people involved in the very wide spectrum of whatever this phenomena turns out to be. Correct, but we have to think too, we know about Thomas Beard and we know about SciKids, we know about the repressed scientific verifiable evidence of psi and higher cognitive abilities. Um, and a lot of that, my son, I'm gonna beat you, in his cartoons. Hey, Ray, go ahead. I lost my spot.
Thanks, B. So I actually just was reading about Indigo Children since Shane has been talking about it for a while now. And so Shane, I don't know if like you're still interested in talking about it, but I pulled up a checklist and I meet full criteria for an indigo to like to be an indigo child. And like, you know, I remember actually when I was younger, people like adults would tell me I'm an old soul, and I do remember the term indigo child being used like as I got a little bit older, like maybe in my later teens. I don't know like when that term became a thing, but it's really interesting, especially like being drawn more towards spirituality than religion, like the neurodivergence piece of like having ADHD or autism or anxiety. And then also, you know, being able to connect better with nonverbal beings like animals, and like a lot of other things too. Definitely stood out. So I thought that was really interesting. So thanks for bringing that to my attention.
I'm still here. Sorry. I hate it. Man, my fingers can't. When I go to hit the mic, that pisses me off when I'm touching it like 7 times. It makes me feel like I'm a fat kid. And my thumbs or fingers are so big and it can't push it. I'm like, what's going on? So, actually, the more I read on them, and there's different checklists and things like that. I think it was relegated to the woo area, right? People are like, oh, it's that. So no one talked about it. But now, if you take what we know about hybridization, other things like that, makes you think, doesn't it? Indigo children, I can't say they're special because again, if I'm an indigo child, ain't nobody gonna want to be an indigo child because ain't really nothing special besides the horror in my life. So I just they ADHD is one of the signs. Why don't you read off all the symptoms like it's the disease? Yeah, it is for me apparently. The signs that you could be an indigo child, right? If you have them with you.
Yeah, I have the article right here. So let me scroll back up. I didn't see a. I don't know if I saw addiction on there. But I saw that was on another checklist. But I want to say I think all of these, a lot of these, like I don't know, symptoms or signs. I think they can be perceived either as really negative or really positive, and I think it's really up to the individual on like kind of how we um you know rise to the occasion and kind of express like whatever this is. Like one of like the first one is you're strong-willed, you're a free thinker, um then like being perceptive and intelligent, highly intuitive, you want to change the world, being empathetic and compassionate, being idealistic, and things like that. So I think all of those can be really awesome because you know you have like big goals and dreams and what, but also like those things that I just named in particular can be met with a lot of challenges. also. And the thing with like neurodivergence, like ADHD and autism, is yeah, they do pose a whole lot of challenges and struggles, and it can be really really hard to just navigate the world as we know it. But I think ADHD and autism, I consider them to be pretty big strengths in a lot of ways. Like I don't think I would have. I know for a fact I wouldn't have as many ideas as I do have without my ADHD. And so I think part of like just mental health struggles is just learning how to live with it. And yeah, I mean it's so layered, but I guess what I'm saying is the all of these things on the checklist can definitely pose a lot of challenges or strengths, really depending on, I guess, how the individual relates to it and expresses it in one way or the other.
Thank you, Ray. Hey, by the way, how the hell do I say your name? Say your name, Yamar Sakar? Am I saying it right?
Yamar is fine.
All right, Yamar. I want to say it that way. Yamar. All right, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I had to come up with unique stuff that nobody else was using in like uh like online mud, and Apocalypse was already taken. Okay, and what I want to talk about is like have you guys tried how do you have any sources on how to help people, whether they're Earth souls or Star whatever, adapt to this life more easily? Can you share some of the things you've done? Like I've noticed some emotional instability that might be aided by crystals or meditation work that that may other people may not have talked about.
That's going to be Ray, if anybody, because I sure as hell can't help you. Ray, can you help him?
Yeah, so just to make sure I heard that right, because I always want to talk about crystals. So Yamar, you were asking specifically about crystals for like mental health assistance.
Um, for a lot for a lot of people that are caught are looking for a way to deal with their identity dissociation, meaning they don't feel like they fit on Earth. And now, I'm not trying to label them as an Earth soul or stars soul or military soul, but it's just what do people in this community actually do about that other than see a military shrink?
Yeah, so it sounds like a person that might be struggling with maybe depersonalization or derealization, or some of the dissociative features of not necessarily feeling connected to this reality as others may know it. I think grounding stones would be really helpful. So when just approaching healing crystals, knowing colors is really helpful. So anything that's related to grounding, that's going to be lower chakras. So that's going to be like darker stones, like blacks, browns, reds, and then you're also going to want to look for any stones that are connected, like to that enhance our connectivity to nature. So I really like moss agate and green aventurine specifically. I can speak more to how, not exactly the mechanism of how they help, but more to like their healing benefits. And then like grounding stones that are really excellent are black obsidian. Hematite is a great stone. Yellow jasper is a really calming stone. That's more connected to the solar plexus chakra, but it can really assist with some depression without kind of having like more of a kick like some other yellow stones would have that might trigger some anxiety. But yeah, I would mostly recommend like some darker green stones like moss agate, rainforest jasper, and then the grounding stones like hematite or black obsidian.
Okay, thank you very much, Ray. Would you? Is it okay if oh, let me say this. So if I guys send out a projection of peace and harmony to the people that want it in this group.
I'm open to that.
Okay, you guys just keep talking and call it like an inverse or remote viewing.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm just posting something. I'm sorry. I had the greatest co-hosts. The greatest.
Well, B's got her hand up.
Go B.
Now I got done sidetracked. I was like, well, if we get half of each of you, does that make a whole? Yeah, I was sidetracked and doing it and then running a great conversation. So yeah, I thank you guys. Um, I don't know, but you know how I feel about the StarKids and stuff like that. I mean, they've known about this quantum observer belief effect since fucking Bearden, right? And all of that, those signs point to that they did. Um, to me, if they're finding people, and then all these different clues tie in too, because we've got mankind's hitting us. We've got Raiden and Nolan talking about the genetic differences and the neurological. The meat in your brain is different in people that are able to experience this phenomena, right? And it feels to me like they would have done known that, and if there are StarKids and they're being utilized pretty much like ink in some dude's 3D printer, pretty much. You know, it's working with this non-human intelligent field is what I think it is. But that's just me. I think if there was such a thing as aliens, if aliens were the secret, then Dodie wouldn't have come up and said that it was aliens to convert over some secret tech. Well, okay, well, aliens are such a big secret. I don't think that would have flied very, very well. um, but I just, sorry, my dog.
Is
I
that
gotta
your
go.
dog? I was
Sorry,
gonna
guys.
say that's cute actually. I was hoping it was your
Dude,
dog, right?
yeah, dude, that's Chief. That's my 10.5-year-old German Shepherd, dude. He's amazing. So I gotta go. Sorry.
Right on. So, well, everybody, do me a favor. Retweet the space. We'll keep it going. We'll talk about anything. I'm just kind of going through different things that I have stored up from research. Just kind of ask questions to see if people have ever heard of it, and if you have, if you found documents or anything, or other links, throw them in the thread. Right. It's one of the ways we can kind of get to the bottom of it. We just kind of talk about all these different things. So, have you ever guys ever heard anything about a Space Force base being built on an island west of Africa? No? Is that a no, or I'm not supposed to say that, Ray? I
That's a no, and
oh,
I
okay, thank
yeah,
God. I
I
was
know
like,
it's a
wait,
no.
did I fuck up? I don't know if I was supposed to say it, but what? So, no shit, right? I'm looking for it. It's there. It's somewhere. A Space Force base being built on a volcanic island west of Africa. So I go on Google Earth. This is where I get a lot. If I ever get a tip or anything like that, then I'll go and I'll search for these things. I don't have to be the only one, right? So you guys are all welcome to do those things. And I've also heard before, if you go look at Marshall Islands, does anything ever stand out? The fact that there's multiple craters, but only one has a sarcophagus. Does that make sense? Ask yourself why. Side by side, there's two sarcophagi. I mean, there's two craters. Only one of those craters actually has sarcophagi with supposed leaking materials. And if you go across Marshall Islands, you'll start seeing that a lot of it's scrubbed out for some reason. Some of it is. Why? Yeah, I have no clue. It starts making me wonder, especially when I get tips about things, stuff like that. It's like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Same thing with if you go look at the Michael Herrera when he talks about the UFO crash him and his Marine unit stumbled upon. You can go out there and I've got a tweet I'll post up in here in the thread, right? And you can scroll across it on Google Earth and you'll find what literally looks like a port that a craft would come out of in the ground on the islands. And I know I pieced that with the fact that I had heard from a source about, that's those places. Indonesia is a place. So What do you guys think about that? Crash retrievals, reverse engineered tech, the fact that perhaps, and we're not going to mention MH370 tonight, just not tonight, because I know what's up with that. I'm just saying that tech that's in those films, that's where we're at. And it's NGOs that have that shit, not our government. What do you think of that? Yamar?
The government's just a puppet. Why would they have the good stuff?
Damn, that's the truth. Why would they have the good stuff? I mean, BlackRock's literally the fourth branch of the government. They own all the aerospace defense companies who individually have been getting reverse engineered tech and then on the side siphoning their own shit off of it, right? So, yeah, that's very.
It's like it's like a hidden hand or a hidden finger behind a hidden arm, kind of Wizard of Oz gimmickry. They have a front corporation, but behind that is another shell corporation. Behind that's like a bloodline, the Red Shield, Rothschilds. Behind that, there's another family that we don't know the name of, and on it goes.
And this is where we get into the Bilderbergs and shit. What does people think about organizations that have been said to exist over time and that have? Now, let me ask you this. Everything we know now, given the paper, I know that I think Project Unity posted about the oh, sacerdotal knights of national security, right? And how this has always been taken. Well, they've always come at this with a almost like a cultish or a esoteric type approach because you can't come all science because it isn't that, especially if it's what we usually talk about with RV consciousness and things like that. So makes you step and think back, well, about these different organizations that existed in the past. What was it they actually were for? And the only reason I kind of talk about this shit is it makes me laugh. You remember the pyramid astral that I posted, the location of the pyramid in Alaska?
Yeah.
Right after I posted that shit on my LinkedIn, I got one of my searchers, because it could show you, is the Knights Templar. Like literally right after I posted it, I'm like, oh shit, the Knights Templar has a LinkedIn?
Is that the psychic pyramid and shit like that? That the long
That's
talks
the
about?
pyramid in Alaska that Earth Files, Linda Moulton Howe, actually, she talked about, but I put the location with some photos and stuff like that. And supposedly, the pyramid's a black pyramid. Not supposedly, I'll say this. Well, I guess I should say supposedly, but I do trust. So, black pyramid that's pulsing enough energy to actually run the entire state of Alaska and probably most of Canada off of what's going through it. And they don't know where it's pulling it from. And then, but I did find some stuff that talks about supposedly this black pyramid that I posted, and I will post it in the thread or whatever so people can look at it. That actually it was designed as a device that can separate things, minerals, at an atomic level. That being said, so if I was to aim it at some ore, it'd pull things apart, so I wouldn't have to dig, do any work. It would or crush or any of that, and gold, all the minerals that I wanted would be there at the atomic level. What does that make you think, Astral?
Makes me think I want some kind of thing that you point at somebody and you shoot them outside their body. Like they basically separate from their body. I feel like Bigelow, or not Bigelow, but Robert Monroe, that's kind of what he was getting at, is like some way, through technology that you could like induce an out of body experience.
Ooh. Actually, I read that they use on the children, or they would spin them incredibly fast on their backs on tables to
Oh
induce.
shit, no way. And then the white wheel was above them, the spinning, the like
Yeah, that's one of the things they do
dude, get out of
initially.
here. I heard that on another video.
I'm not
And that's how
messing with you,
people would
man.
astral project. That's fucking crazy.
And that's one of the reasons. That's one of the ways they initially did it before I think the Monroe Institute and all that other stuff.
But
Trauma
it
and
would
things
be on
like
like
that.
certain intervals, right? Like they would
Yeah,
go around
dude.
in a circle in
And
like
they do it to kids to induce the out of body experience with them.
Synchronicity, because kids learn the fastest.
Yeah, and matter of fact, hell, the Russian experiments with the Kozyrev mirrors, kids always took away better, especially StarKids and stuff. The stuff here, they learn faster. So one of the things that they noticed, and that's why Scott Andrews, right? So one of the things they talk about is he's being hounded by the government, all this other stuff. Well, maybe it's because when you get this contact or they induce these things, this psychic ability, it doesn't go away. They can brainwash you, which Lear talks about, and so does what's his name from Area 51. They say that he actually says he lost 2 days towards the end of his job because that's just what they do. They have the ability to take things out of your head. So yeah, Astral, they did that shit to kids back in the day to induce out of body psychic experiences, a
It's
la.
also it's also because the ETs with the really advanced technology, they don't talk to the government or the military because a lot of the military is fear based. So they have to talk to the ETs that will talk to them, like the Draconians or whatever else. The people that like to talk about weapons will talk to the military, and you can kind of guess like what kind of civilization that is. That's gonna sell weapons to primitive civilizations in return for your DNA.
So what I'm getting from what you just said is Scott Andrews, the USAF, and the NASA kids are the ones that talk to the Draconians, and Dan Sherman talked to the Tall Grays. Is that what I get here?
I don't know who they're talking about. I'm just saying that in
Oh, okay.
general,
That's what I'm
your
guessing.
yeah your consciousness determines who you can contact. So the government is always freaking out because they can't contact the really powerful ETs, but there's a reason for that. They don't want to talk to these guys. They don't want to talk to Zayden or Tom Monsters.
Where did Angela go, damn it? But anyway, let me ask you this. The only reason I brought that up, and I don't know if that's for sure, because there is a difference. Dan Sherman, Project Preserve Destiny, and you can go look at Schallenberger's article with whistleblowers, multiple, talking about treaties and contact. Dan Sherman, Project Preserve Destiny, there's a couple different ways you can kind of vet it itself, right? I know Rich from UFO Twitter, who has a great Medium article about it, actually, he alerted me to it later on, where he kind of vetted Dan was where he said he was at, and then I took his PCS orders, and he was in Italy, and on top of that, some shady shit like the DSA is paying for these programs. That's how they funnel money in there. Now, Dan Sherman, Project Preserve Destiny, he was told when he first went in that basically we're hybrids. Some of them are being tinkered with a little more. He's one of those, and these intuits can talk to the Greys, or they see who's being abducted and who's being tinkered with. But there's also Scott Andrews. NASA and USAF have the StarKids. Those individuals also communicate. And I'm trying to figure out what's the difference. Why is there a difference, right? NSA, USAF, and NASA. So I think it may be racist species. Maybe one's communicating for a different reason than the other. I'm not 100% sure. Someone asked me that question. It's stuck in my head. What is the difference between Project Preserve Destiny and the other one? So one of the things that if you go and read the Scott Andrews book announcement, it talks about the communication and stuff like that. I posted videos about abductees, two different ones that I've talked to, I think, particular, because they sound almost identical to what Scott goes through. Well, I shouldn't have said that. God damn it. So let me put it this way. They're given stuff through these jobs, right? And they go away with them. They don't even know they have them. And it's only when they're the targeted individuals that I talk about all the time. They're being targeted and all these that they're kind of figuring all this out. And a lot of these star kids, around 400 of them, growing up, they go through their life and they're one thing after another job. I mean, they're in the top, the echelon, upper echelon of all these things with just like it was destiny. So I've talked to a couple individuals, and a lot of those individuals have jobs that I would classify as that. And a lot of the individuals talk about gifts, right? Walking away with something. And imagine if our government knew that the only thing stopping, I guess, us from realizing the government's full of shit and we don't need them is some of these individuals talking about their gifts, such as, let's say, maybe it's an energy device or it's something along the lines that can change civilization, right? That's kind of what's going on here. When you leave the Star Kids don't leave you.
Yeah, old man, you should read the Law of One. They were talking about how The raw contact, so basically, it's humans trying to contact ETs directly and ask them about their philosophy. So the raw contact, the ET contact through the channeling process said that we will not infringe upon your free will by telling you about free energy. Well, so what they really meant was they don't want to tell you because then the government will kill you, which will infringe on your free will to be alive.
Is that kind of law of one? Is that a little bit like the prime directive? Like that we can't get help till 10% of our conscious asses say help?
There's a lot of consciousness information on it, both light side and dark side. It's kind of like the manual to how Star Wars, the Force works, how density of consciousness works, and civilizations that are negative versus positive polarity, like all the little rules behind it all.
Look, let me tell you this. When I was researching like StarKids and stuff too, actually, I kind of went over, I found out Walter Breen and I kind of like went to look him up. Well, let me put it to you this way. Walter Breen's an individual ChatGPT was refusing to spit out because of some of the shit he's done. No shit. Yeah, it's like, wait, what's going on here? So I had to go look him up other ways. Some of the stuff I just can't even believe. Reading the article about the elf waves for peace, reading the article about what they did to induce psychic abilities, out of body experiences, Astral, we just talked about. All of these things were done to children that supposedly had this extra. This is Star Kids, man. Hell, that tweet I posted about Jack Safardi, man, he's intertwined in Stargate. This. What are you thinking, man? What do you think he
Well,
is?
one of the video that I was talking about, of which I saw with the spinning table and the hypnotizing black and white thing that spins above them, was on this project called Project Looking Glass. I don't know, like, have you heard of that? Like, what do you know about that?
Refresh me, man. I know the name actually.
Well, it was just on time travel, basically. Like it was like a project, I guess, on time travel and how
Yeah.
we were testing on
Bro.
time
You mean
travel and ways
eventually
that we
that
can
turns
look
into
back.
Project Pegasus?
Yeah,
Yeah, bro. I do know. So, Star Kids, Scott Andrews, all this stuff I've been yapping about time travel. Bro, that was a good way to set me up with a T-ball home run, but I'll still probably fucking foul out here. But
You'll do
anyway,
fine.
point being is all these programs, that Project Looking Glass, the names may be wrong, different, but the point is, Puharich was attempting to use elf spinning tables, whatever techniques he could to induce psychic abilities. And once we realized that some of those psychic abilities, some of those abilities with help of things like the mirrors or Montauk chair can do time travel, things like that. I, yeah, I think Project Looking Glass is probably a stepping stone to where I'm talking about. So yes, I have heard across. Matter of fact, I could probably find it right now in my research because I know for a fact I've heard it. I just couldn't remember. And I think before we get around, Ray, go ahead because I know when I said Looking Glass, you had not.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking about, the kids the kids spinning on the table, but more importantly, like the thing above, the black and white spiral that spins. And then I think how that's like demonstrated in like pop culture, like in cartoons, and like putting people into a trance, or hypnotic state. And it just makes me wonder, like, I wonder if that's like a different form of bilateral stimulation or like hemispheric integration, and that's what induces the altered state of consciousness. I don't know, it was just a thought. And just, yeah, I wonder how it's just how that works, if it's like similar to binaural beats, and just kind of operates in a different way. I don't know.
All right. And you know what? I have zero idea. That's what you're here for, Ray. And who's next? And then I'm going to
Is Andrew?
spit out Andrew. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that.
Hey, great space, great discussion. By way of association, as you're talking about this stuff, especially, I don't know about spinning, but you're just reminding me of movies that treat this. And I don't think of any others right off. There's a bunch of them I know, but Minority Report is what came to mind, where these psychics are able to supposedly foresee the future and all that. But the reason I jumped up, and then I'll see if I can stay up and put it in the nest if I find it, or link it in the thread. I can do that because I need to get some dinner here. But I was thinking of a great resource, Susie Hansen out of I don't know, Mistress, if you know about her, but she's out of New Zealand. And I think it's spelled Hansen. It could be O, but I believe it's Sen. Susie Hansen is someone who talks about, I think most of her experience is with the gray beings. And she's talked about seeing a seated mantid aboard one of the craft, and how even after a lot of abduction experiences, it basically terrified her, even though she knew she was safe. It was like one of those, I don't know, root level chakra reactions or something. But the reason I like Susie Hansen's descriptions, I've heard a number of her lectures through YouTube, and I'll link one of them. I don't have them all listed, but uh, if you go listen to these, she talks about three different waves. And before you leave the subject of I guess the indigo or star children, I don't understand that stuff, but I'm glad to be here learning and hearing about it, because Susie talks about, I think there are three basic waves. She talks about how they're overlapping. I don't know if they're strictly linear. And then she breaks them down. She goes into each one and says, well, there's like a group here with this wave and a group with that wave. And I think she identifies with maybe even the first wave or something. But she talks about, I mean, she's getting into the plans. Like, here's what at least some of the groups are doing. And again, it may be kind of biased, or it may be from that perspective of the gray beings, but I just think it's good to hear, because you may have to listen to an hour, but you start to get this overview, and then you can just kind of piece it together, pieces of the puzzle to see what some of the I believe her. I don't think she's misrepresenting anything, and she's not a grifter. She's somebody that I've been interested in for many years. So if you've never heard of Susie Hansen, I'll just leave a link up there, and I'd love to hear what others have to say. And I'm very interested in the looking glass, because that of all thing, and I think you talked to, is it called the Kasparov mirrors? That's just fascinating to me. Anything that doesn't require you to stick wires in your brain or smoke anything, that's something I might be interested in, and technology starts to, you question where we're headed with this Neuralink stuff. But I know that's a mouthful, but the reason I really wanted to get up here was just to mention Susie Hansen. She's a great resource. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm glad you're here, man. Actually, I just posted it in the nest. Too bad Mike's not here. I don't know what you guys know about jump rooms and the CIA's jump room program, the Mars, and how Obama was jumping, but you can guys check it out. I actually posted it in the nest, right? So it's one of the things that, what's his name? Andrew Basiago, he talks about in Project Pegasus, Project Looking Glass. All of these things are kind of the same thing. I know it sounds funny as hell, but guess who else talks about the jump room at LAX? Timothy Taylor. And, Mike actually had to delete a tweet because he talked about Obama in the jump room. But that's why I joke about it. That's a thing. Andrew Basiago talks about it over and over. And a matter of fact, these programs I've actually been tipped off on, like Project Pegasus, that's the stuff that got me to the MH370, right? So, yeah, I went ahead and posted in the nest. I'll put it in the, what is it, the Jumbotron?
Awesome, thank you. I just wanted to say, you guys were mentioning about this like experimentation on some children, and this kind of like a pushing the consciousness out of the body. I experienced that as a child. I was walking out of school, and we were just walking out the door and out to the playground, and it was like my conscious awareness and my perspective, my perception from where I'm seeing uh was like a balloon that as soon as I opened the door, it just like sucked it up out and up and behind where I was walking with my body. Like I don't know how many feet, maybe 100 or so, I don't know, up in the air and behind. And I couldn't hear what we were talking about or anything, so it was like my actual, my senses of. So when you guys said that, it reminded me of that big time. But interesting though. So thank you for that.
And if you get a chance to look at the thing I just posted in nest, as silly as it sounds about Obama being a jumper, and Andrew Basiago. Some of the stuff he talks about in the video, actually, first, why NASA and how they pick them. What did I just ask you guys, right? What's the other thing I just noticed as well? So the other thing was, oh, and the origins of Project Mars of the 80s and Project Pegasus of the 70s. Project Pegasus. Scott
I
Andrews.
posted I posted Looking Glass in the comment there for Astral.
Nice. Thanks, Mar. But yeah,
It's an old interview with from 2006 and 2008 with Karen Cassidy and Bill Woods.
so he mentions Project Pegasus and how NASA chooses them. Kind of answers some of my questions. So Scott Andrews was a jumper, I think, as well. What's up, Bruce?
Very shame. I just got to pitch in there. I say, have you watched Packing for Mars, the documentary? If anyone has watched that, because that crosses over a lot of the different topics you've touched on. Have you seen that?
No, now I'm going to have to. What's it called?
Yeah, Packing for Mars, and it tackles the jump rooms, tackles the Mars, another breakaway kind of civilization, Mars bases. The idea that scientists and members of the public have been disappearing, like numbers of people that have vanished. A lot of them have been taken away on the alternative free theory. So alternative free was an older book which overlaps this idea that a whole load of people have been signed up into this program. So loads of these scientists that have vanished over the years, that they have been taken into this program, and that sorry, so a lot of them have been involved in this Mars program. Hang on, my throat just gone terrible. I have to come back on it.
Fine, Bruce. We'll wait. Trust me, because I'm super interested, and I'm actually just going to order the book right now, actually. So, yeah, take a breath. Actually, today I went into a coughing fit, and I couldn't stop. My grandpa probably thought I had COVID or some shit. He's like, get the hell out. I just could not stop. But then again, I guess that's marijuana
Yeah, it was
for you.
weird, man. As soon as I started talking about the other thing was, it also goes into is the looking glass and stuff, and the time scanning technologies, time scrying and stuff. So that's in there as well. So I really think you'll enjoy that, because they talk about that, and that idea that they even they remote viewed kind of the crucifixion and stuff like that using these technologies, and that the Vatican was involved, and this kind of time scrying. It's all in there. It's a really good film. Really recommend it. Obviously, there's stuff in there that maybe bogus, but they got some really good stuff in there. So have a look at it. The other thing I was going to quickly say as well on the other topic, the Indo kids, is obviously got I used to be quite involved with that back in like the late 90s, early 2000s and stuff. So when it started to obviously morph into all sorts like Crystal Kids and Rainbow Kids, and it started to get a bit too wacky, obviously people were cashing in, let's be honest. But at the same time, it's an interesting topic. It overlaps with, I know someone touched on there, the waves of volunteers, so the idea of the free waves of volunteers, that those, beings coming here that have gifts. And I also feel that it strongly links with the rainbow prophecies, the prophecy of the rainbow children, which is again this idea there'll be this time when ancestors and spirit workers from the past will incarnate to deal with this crazy kind of collapsing of the ecosystem and the just destruction of our planet. So when you put those together, they're very kind of overlapping. The idea of the indigo children, or the waves of volunteers, or the rainbow warriors, all of these things kind of overlap. So I feel this to it. I do feel very aligned with the rainbow warriors prophecy, particularly. In the past, people would say, "Oh, you've got indigo aura, you're an indigo kid," and all this stuff. My wife is as well. So I feel quite linked to that. And other waves of volunteers information, Dolores Cannon stuff definitely resonates. Her information. To be honest, I had an shamanic experience where I remembered the call. I remembered the beings all being called. So I have a lot of overlap with that as well. So yeah, thanks, man.
Damn, Bruce. Thanks for that, dude. I really appreciate it. Actually, I just ordered the damn book, too. Thank you very much. Astral, can you take over for me if you're still alive? You're probably just dead, unconscious. And I mean it, Bruce. I appreciate that shit. I'm super interested in that book now, too. Astral's dead. Astral, you alive, man?
Darn, I meant to hit the
What's up, Shane?
sad one.
I'm here.
Oh,
Can you
thank
take
goodness.
over for me, or got to go in my diaper, or what?
Nice. All right, Gramps. Jamie, what's up?
I don't remember what I was gonna say, so I don't even think I had my hand up. So I was just filling in while you're still muted. So yeah. I was gonna say something I can't remember.
Well, I mean, the whole child thing is really interesting, you know, just with the psychic children and stuff like that, and even with the little bit of psychic research that's been there, and I think it's like an ethical thing. Like I don't really think you're able to test children without a lot of the consent from parents. So even with that type of testing, you'd have to ask the parents, and a lot of the parents have that stigma in place where they're like, this sounds kind of weird. So to even get some of the testing done to compare psychic phenomenon between adults and children is difficult because of just being able to collect enough data and ethically being able to do the research is tough enough. So there's kind of like a challenge there.
Yeah, that's a great point, Astral. Very, very true.
Well, shit, dude. I literally just saw Andrew in the video. He says Richard Nixon's one of the jumpers, and he's in the bottom. He's in the space right now. Well, his ghost is at least. Somebody should ask that dude.
One of the jumpers for what?
Uh, with Obama, Andrew Basiago says Richard Nixon is also one of those jumpers, apparently, and Richard Nixon's ghost is in here right now. So somebody should ask his ass. God, I can't
Send
even believe I have to explain that,
send
Astral.
him a speaker invite, maybe.
I don't really think it's really his ghost, though. Just so you know, Jamie, that was a joke. Maybe a bad one. Astro couldn't follow, so maybe it was a really bad
Well,
one.
no, no, no. It was actually there's some medium people we know somewhere in here. Somebody get somebody in here.
Oh, those are mostly CIA. 70% are CIA at this point.
You can find a lot of those rooms probably in Antarctica. That place is sealed off really tightly,
Oh my
even from
God.
He's cracking
even
me
from
up.
remote viewers. I've had out of body astral people that try to look in out there, and they say a military guy kicked them out of the astral and try to follow them back home. I was like, okay.
Oh, I wonder why. Here, let me tell you. So, when we went to Antarctica, there's a reason there was this rush to get there, right? And all these treaties, like no more exploring, no more of this. Dude, megaliths exist all over the place, not just there. North Pole, Alaska, we know this, right? Well, Project Pegasus, these things that I talk about, McMurdo Station. I think McMurdo's huge in this. I don't think, I know. It is.
Isn't there an
So,
island there called Deception?
well, actually, and I'm gonna say, I mean, my map, south or to the, it's on the west, right? On the west of the island or on Antarctica, the west of
Yeah, just look
Antarctica.
at the weird names on these things, like Rothschild or some weird name they put on these towns.
Well, I will say that Antarctica is straight up a part of the puzzle. So there's actually a photo. I think it's on my Twitter. Someone else posted it, and it's a famous face, right? It looks like a straight up alien face, but it's just some kind of a rock structure, right? And but Spartan 1 and 2, where's that at? Linda Moulton Howe has two different whistleblowers, and they talk about in Antarctica, there's an underground megalith structure, almost, I think it's hexagonal, and on it, she's in it, I should say, there's all kinds of writing, and that writing being almost not quite, it's not Sumerian, but resembles Sumerian symbols. So Spartan 1 and 2 are both talking about this. One of those symbols is actually, Linda Moulton Howe actually jokes about it being a alien flag. I actually put a 3D representation of said symbol on my Twitter somewhere, hoping somebody will figure that out because I sure as fuck can't figure it out. It's actually a pulsar map. It wasn't a flag. It's a pulsar map that was found down there, right? And I posted it hoping somebody could figure that shit out. It's a 3D Christmas ornament, it looks like, right? But it's exactly what was on the wall. And it was a pulsar map, not a flag. So it was on this megalith. It was showing something like maybe where they're at, where they're coming from. So you can find it on my Twitter. Still waiting for somebody to do it. I don't know, have the slightest idea where to begin on some shit like that, right? But it's a pulsar map. I gave a 3D representation. So figure that out. Whoever the hell can figure that out, and we'll know one more piece of this puzzle. And I got that from somewhere. Just know that, right? So glad you brought that up. Antarctica's got a lot of shit going on. Jumping, aliens, maybe shit. Wonder what that map's important to. If we could figure out what that map's pointing to, I think we could help us. Astral, where's the map pointing?
My ace.
Boots, void, bootis, void. That's where, huh?
That was too easy.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Go ahead, Caroline.
Hey guys. Hey, old vet Shane, can you repost that flag down in the comments down here?
I will. Let me find it real
All
quick.
right, thank you.
You're doing a lot of work on this, reading all this stuff, which is pretty good. It allows other people to follow the breadcrumbs. I can't do that for the community because I just get a lot of downloads and analyze it internally using my skills and abilities, which probably don't make any sense.
Man, bro. Yamar, I appreciate the compliment, dog. I picked it up and I'm going to take it. Thank you very much, man. Let me post that shit in here. Because if
I'm
you keep giving me
remote.
compliments, I'm not going to be able to post the shit. I'm just going to sit in here and listen. Keep going, bro. Keep
I'm
going.
just remote viewing like your strengths and weaknesses, like an intel analyst would, giving you straight.
Wait, you said my weakness is reading the intel? Oh, shit.
I'm gotten to your weaknesses yet, man.
Oh, shit. Then we're all screwed. Everything I told you is off, guys. Go back one step or forward one and you might have it. Hold on. I got to find this shit. Hey, Astral, take over.
I think Puharich is somebody who I need to research more. I've heard his name a lot. I've read a couple of things on him, but he's someone who I've been meaning to read up upon.
Was he the same channel that did the Council of Nine channeling session?
Yes. Yes, he was. Keep going, Astral.
Okay.
I'm posting it
You
now.
can read Only Planet of Choice. One of the scribes documented the channeling, so you may be able to get more information on that. Because I looked into the Star Trek channeling with Gene Roddenberry, and I know he was there. He actually the questions he asked is in the channeling session. I think in that book, which is available on free archives, Dark Text.
He's in the consciousness lore, though. Like a lot of people refer to his work when talking about like consciousness and uh, the study of consciousness and stuff like that. So I've definitely been meaning to just to see, when, and even a good question is like when the study of consciousness actually started. You could go back to like philosophers or stuff like that, but I think like tangible evidence of consciousness, like that's the one thing that I think people are looking for, of like what are we looking for actually when we're looking at consciousness. Like, is it, are we looking at an entire dimension, like an underpinning of consciousness that connects us all, or is it like an individual consciousness that everybody has that's separated from the physical body? um
I recommend you read a digest of the Law of One books, which is the same thing Tom recommended. The Law of One books uh, covers the consciousness in scientific terms.
By the way, hey,
You don't
Carolyn,
need to
it's in the
read it.
nest and it's in the thread. You're breaking up, Yamar.
Oh, sorry. You don't need to read the entire book, Astro. You can look it on YouTube for a digest from Aaron.
yeah, I'll check it out. Thanks, man.
Hey, has anybody ever heard anything about a takeover by interdimensional negative entities? I'm curious because I just want to know when that is. I gotta get stocked up. Hey,
And what?
Caroline, that shit's in the nest, by the way, in the thread, that map. But again, If anybody knows about the interdimensional takeover by negative beings, let me know.
Nah, we got Astral Warriors, bro. We straight.
Yeah, StarKid Unite. Ray, go ahead. Since Astral, I don't know what he's doing, man. He's just
I
hanging
gotta leave
out.
in a minute anyway, actually, dude.
Oh,
Sorry.
I offended you, did I? I offended you. All right, man. No, thanks for. I do appreciate you hosting, brother. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I'm actually going to head out, but I wanted to just respond to what Astral and Umar were saying about consciousness. So I've, recently been reading about CRV and how I'm understanding consciousness, like kind of how the CRV manual theorizes it, is like like it makes sense to me that it's kind of like almost a matrix, and we kind of just tune in, and I'm not putting it very well right now because I'm rushed because I'm about to head out. But yeah, it's almost like our own consciousness is an antenna that can tune into like the collective consciousness or the Akashic records, or however you kind of want to think of it as. I don't know. It's super. There's just so much to consider and think about just in terms of consciousness, and it's like such a rabbit hole, and there's so many rabbit holes just in and of consciousness itself. So on that note, I just wanted to mention that I scheduled a space for tomorrow. I'm going to be hosting direct perception and unknown RV. We're going to have a discussion about controlled remote viewing, and they're both really, really awesome remote viewers and well informed on the topic. So I'm really looking forward to having that space. I think it's scheduled tomorrow around 6 or 6:30. So I shared it in the comments if you guys want to stop by. All right. Thank you for the space. As always, awesome time.
Thank you, Ray. And so you put it in the thread, right?
Yeah, I threw it in the thread
All right, right on.
a while ago. So it's someplace in there.
And why don't you say before you leave speaker, go ahead and put it in the nest too, so people can find it. They're in here right now if they want.
All right, you got it. Thanks.
All right, and Carolyn, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to scroll through to see that flag or that map that you posted in the comments.
It's also up in the nest as well, so you can go up to that. And I'm posting real quick. Let me see if I can clicked out of it actually and posted some different some more on the sentient UAP AI tracking satellite that I think is also one of the videos you're watching with the MH370. So I found some actual on, was it Black Vault? Yeah, blackvault.com. There's a couple different papers, and they actually talk about before, I kind of put this paper out, the white paper on sentient, that it tracked a possible tic tac and things. So I'm putting all three of those in here, including the white paper for the sentient program. So give me 1 second, guys. And if you want to talk about anything, come on up here and you're welcome to talk about anything.
All right, I'll go for it. So I've always been into phenomenon and everything like that, and I think there's like a really negative cloud around who it is that's flying around us and coming to visit us and everything like that. But the fact is, like through my visitations, experiences, everything, like I don't have any fear. I was frightened the first time. After that first time, it was more of just like trying to gain knowledge, trying to gain understanding, everything like that. And me and a good friend of mine, he's also in all this weird shit, and we're trying to get every bit of equipment we can to film stuff, show everybody what's happening, and it's going to take time and money, but we've spent the past month now pretty much scrounging up our pennies and getting the stuff that we need, and hopefully him and I will be able to uh, you know contribute to this personal disclosure. not a governmental disclosure, but the more we know, the better we are off. And I don't feel like there's a threat that's coming from out there. I think if there's any threat, it's already here, and we can kind of see that with what's going on in the world and the people that are around us. And I'm sure a lot of you on here that are very curious, very intelligent, you all have ancient bloodlines, and something's telling you at this point in your life, we have all this technology. It's like we really need to get answers, but we need to get them in a collective, like we were talking about consciousness. Consciousness is an individual thing. It starts in one individual, but then you can have a collective in between individuals. And the thing is, you don't hold back. You share every knowledge that you have, like everything you learn. You spread it and you disseminate, and you say, okay, well, let's go through this by a process of elimination and deductive reasoning. And that's the whole collective consciousness behind the movement, for us to understand exactly what's going on. But it takes like a really good strong group of people. So like if anybody is out there researching, I would say go for the core four dynamic. That means that you have four people with like yourself and four people, and go for the core four. And those are the people that are going to be really, really interested. Those are the people that are going to, once you all come to an agreement, you pretty much, all four of you gung ho back behind it, and you go, okay, this is what we found out. This is what we've done. And I think if smaller groups like that were to happen in this community, like that, I mean, the collective, the consciousness, everything like that, just questioning everything and saying no a lot. I think that would help all of us out. And I think everybody should be doing that. Just like, it's not like it's a fucking militia against, space aliens or something like that. But, it's just like these groups that can get up with each other and share their knowledge. And, we create a higher consciousness as long as we're willing to understand it and learn from something.
Appreciate that,
That's
man.
good.
And I just posted, just so you guys know, the what's up screen, by the way, in the thread, the nest as well. Just, I guess it was from Black Vault. He FOI'd about sentient. So he had a couple of things about sentient, supposedly detecting a tic tac, and I went ahead and posted the white paper for sentient. If you don't know what sentient is, it's our AI UAP tracking program. And again, that's probably one of the videos that we're seeing on the MH370. So what's up, screen? What are you doing?
What up, though? Oh man, I was just wondering why we're still talking about that video that's fake as fuck.
We're not. We're just mentioning that it's not. But no, we can talk about anything in these rooms, brother. What do you got going on? I have kind of weighed out of it a little bit. I'm standing where I'm at. I don't need to go any further. I'm talking about the finances, the company that has tech and whatever. I don't know. I think the video is real, but that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is BlackRock, Blackwater. They're the ones behind it for the reason I said. And the video could be fake. The rest is for real.
Oh, I'm totally down with that. I'm into all the weird stuff, and I can even make a good argument for a lot of it. But just that video, man, it gets me.
Yeah, I can see that too. I've heard someone say that it was again, just kind of propaganda in a way, right? Maybe Chinese propaganda, which I don't understand that because everything for me points to China, BlackRock, Blackwater working together to do this shit.
No,
But I
I
don't know.
could see all of that.
Actually, what I want to know, screen, someone in here earlier mentioned, oh, it was Matt, and he is before he mentioned the deer piss. But before he mentioned the deer piss, he talked about Rendlesham. What do you think Rendlesham was?
I'm a little biased because I talked to
I
Burroughs.
know. That's why I
Yeah,
asked you. That's
he
why I
told me
asked you.
consciousness is the new weapon, right? And it makes sense. Once you get to a point tactically where you have nukes and stuff, people are greedy. That's why they go to war in the first place. They don't want to nuke anything because then they can't have what's left. That's why they wanted it in the first place. So then your options are conscious warfare or time warfare, which may be one and the same. And then you get into the manipulating the EM spectrum to do that kind of stuff, and that's where things get weird. Or quantum. I'm all in on that. Look into the God helmet, Cosmorev mirrors. All that stuff is using manipulating the EM spectrum to. The mirrors are such a low frequency that it's basically just like manipulating your thoughts. That's all it has enough power to do. But like once you can put enough power to like behind electromagnets or using tokamaks and things like that, things get reality bending.
That's why I asked you, bro. I know where your flavor comes from. And it's funny because I have my own flavor, right? Because the people you talk to and you get information from, right? You're going to get that bias, like you just said. And it's funny because I talk to enough people that have these different biases that you can almost tell where they come from. You could probably tell where mine comes from at times, right? I try to pull biases from all over the place, but it's funny because I knew that's why I asked you, bro. That's why 100% I asked you. So thanks for sharing that. The other thing, what do you think about Peniston's stuff?
See, that's man. I hate how people pick sides. Oh, I believe Burroughs. I believe Peniston. Because once you get into that stuff and you realize that it manipulates your perception, all three of them could be telling the truth and still have experienced different things compared to each other. So, like, they can all be true at the same time. That's what people fail to realize.
Yes, and I had an agenda when I asked you that, and I shouldn't have been doing that. So I'll tell you that what I know is he gives coordinates. The way he gives said coordinates is on this earth, there's actually three different, or maybe more than three different systems for GPS coordinates. He gives a very specific of one. So, whatever alien species that is decided they were going to give us that, but make sure he didn't give them, too many things. It doesn't make sense to me. That part of it doesn't make sense because the whole coordinate thing, if you go tear it apart, the way he got coordinates, there's only way you can get those one coordinates. You have to have that very specific image, that GPS map. So what we're relying on, those aliens only use one of our fucking maps. And what we kind of know is aliens, ET, whatever consciousness, whatever we want to call it, is when they discuss things with us, it's not in the way we talk. Rolling mnemonic dialogue, downloads. So we get everything we need for that conversation at that moment to understand and proceed on it without ever hesitating, right? And that doesn't sound like that. It sounds like you're having to guess which GPS system. And that's why I also think that some of the what are they called? Freaking when they're making shit in the fields, right? God, what am I can't brain fart, dude. Come on, screen. And they're making crop circles. Thank you. I think some of them are legit, but I think the vast majority aren't. Because any of them that try to communicate with us in a way that's human like doesn't make any fucking sense. Makes zero sense when they could just let us know what they want us to know. They're not going to play a puzzle game with us. They're not going to be like, let's see if we can level them up, if they can discover what this means. If they want to just talk to us, they're going to tell us exactly what we need to know. One of those messages that I think is legit is it the Arecibo message? It's the one that we actually transmitted something similar on the gold record, and we
The
get
Arecibo reply.
there we go. That's one that I can understand. So one of the things we got to take in with a grain of salt is whenever I read these things, I'm like, wait, that's a very human thing to do. If these things are actually trying to communicate with us, me being an experiencer, knowing that they're just going to be there when they want to be there, they're not going to fuck around and be like, let's play a game. Let's see if you can solve these 7 puzzles. Like,
No,
it's
you're
freaking.
exactly right. And to clarify, I believe the coordinates and the binary for Peniston, they came from memory regression after the fact, right? Not from his initial memories. And so you have to be careful with the memory regressions. And I would even be open to him having sensed, the overlapping points of the vial vortices because of how the magnetic fields work, but they weren't all vial vortice locations, like the high Brazil location and things like that. And so then you get into this guy remembering ones and zeros, a whole paragraph worth from a memory regression. I'm pretty smart and I can't do that shit. So, how did he do that?
That's my point, man. And it's I guess we got to understand, okay. So we're going to classify these, whatever this is, as some far advanced civilization. They're too goddamn dumb to communicate with us in a way we can understand. They want us to play. I don't think that's happening because the people who actually get discuss it, they talk about downloads, things like they know what they need to know. They receive a message, it's there. But some of these times that when they're these coded messages, that kind of makes me think, it's horse shit. Because again, if it's communication, they're advanced. They're gonna make us know what we need to know right there. What's up, Jamie? Am I just not hearing her? Jamie, you
Oh,
there?
no, I'm sorry. I thought you called on Andrew because I couldn't see his speaker
I
anymore.
thought you got abducted. I thought they got you. CIA or aliens, one of the two. Go
Not
ahead.
this time. I was just gonna say that uh, when the space that we were mentioning, our Sci Sunday space that we've been doing for like this is the third or fourth week already now. I put that up in the nest, and that's at 6:30 Mountain Daylight Time. And we're going to be doing some remote viewing and non-local information type games and fun. So, that I know we'd mentioned that to Astral, so I'll make sure to send him a thing too, because it will be cool for him to be able to participate too, because that was fun when you, I think I co-hosted that one with you that you hosted so that he could participate. So it's just fun. It's fun to be able to do these things, and it's great to see that there are other things to do as far as spaces go. So. I just wanted to mention that, and also, God, there are so many really cool things in the nest. Like, I can't wait to delve into the Indigo Children thing. I had no idea, actually. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Go ahead, my Mars. I'm not sure how to say your name.
It's Yamar. And by the way, you don't have to accept that co-host invite screen. I was just holding you hostage. You could just got speaker, but you got it. Too bad. Haha. Go ahead, Yamar.
Yeah, about the why different civilizations use different contact methods. Like some people use crop circles, some people use channeling, some people use abductions. I guess some people just maybe contact the government directly and say, "Give us your nukes, and we'll give you your peace and peaceful energy." But I think that if you notice that these civilizations are at different levels of consciousness advancement. Some are at like Kardashev, if you use the power scale, Kardashev 1, others are at 2, and others are at like 3 or above.
Bear with me, guys. I'm actually posting something about Dolce, so you want to take over real quick screen? Because underground bases are a thing. I don't care what you think. I'm probably in one right now. Shit, that's the only way I'm gonna get a girlfriend
I'm
if it's a
open to
fucking reptile.
underground bases too, man. I get into some of the most craziest things. I actually just made a post that's like, I have some of the craziest ideas, but I make sure the science can back it up, right? um, and as far as somebody that would like I get downloads, what I would call downloads, right? But what I would say about them is they're more of a feeling of like when I felt connected to the TR3B, like it was a feeling, like I felt like I needed to go let my dogs out to where I was arguing with myself, like it wasn't like I was forced to, and then like when I get to a level of understanding that I felt like of something that was a download, it's almost like an epiphany, right? Like I just understood it at a point. So it's not like it was guesswork, like the coordinates, So it's like Vet was saying, it's not really like a puzzle. It's like you're kind of shown it, right? Like consciously, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, and I also need to ask you, Screen, who let the dogs out? I'm sorry, dude. I had to do that.
It was me, and it
I
changed my
know,
life.
bro. I'm sorry. Nobody else is laughing either. If I had it, that's a good dad joke.
You
I
get
don't give a shit. I know there's no
That's so
kids in
funny
here.
you just said that because we were just watching that movie the other day, of Men in Black, where he was like barking the who let the dogs out part. Little dog that talks is adorable.
Okay, so what I'm posting right
Let's
now.
let's
Go ahead.
skip the dogs of war, right?
Yeah, no shit. I'm posting right now. It's an interview from what is it? Eyes on Cinema, and it's gonna be Dolce. And it's Thomas Edwin Castillo, security guard at Dolce Base. He kind of talks about hybridization and things like that. So I'm going to post the interview with a couple of blurbs from him as well. So take over real quick, screen.
Yeah, if you I've looked into the underground bases and stuff, and you get into it's apparently this fusion tech that like melts the rock and leaves the surfaces like smooth as glass. Like when I first was reading about that stuff, I was like, man, that's so wild. That's not true, But then you find out about how they have like these nuclear powered aircrafts way back in the day, or like a nuclear powered exosuit like that folds up into something the size of a briefcase, and although they may have been like prototypes, that they still worked, right? So it's like, well, I guess that stuff could be possible. And then the more you get into megalithic stuff, you always find tunnels under these places, right? So I don't think it's much of a stretch to think that world powers may try to connect certain tunnels, or things of that nature. I'm totally open to that. But it's like the conspiracy stuff is where I try to like tread lightly, because you can just get so lost in that stuff. So like Dolce and stuff like that. I'm open to it being an underground base or whatever. But are they making hybrids down there? That I'm not sure of, because you think of it from like a world power standpoint. If you were going to be doing stuff like that, you would do it out in the middle of the ocean, real deep, or up in space, places like that, in my opinion. What's up, Bruce?
I was just going to say, yeah, on that, the tunnels, that in a lot of the stories of the tunnels networks that are found, particularly in South America, but elsewhere, Egypt, the places, they also say there's these ancient tunnel systems that the walls are as smooth as glass. And if you look at like the Padre Crespi case and stuff, where these artifacts were being brought up by the Shwa from these tunnels in the jungle, that those tunnels, they were saying, yeah, that it was smooth as glass, and that they were bringing up mysterious, plaques and stuff and other objects, but they were also saying that there was like technological objects hidden down in these tunnels. So they brought in a selection of stuff. But yeah, you get that recurring theme that these seem to be almost like drilled tunnels that were drilled by some kind of technology that melted its way through the rock, So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I just throw that one in there. Yeah.
I also put the video with a little blurb in the nest if anybody wants to watch. Security guard at Dolce. I know that if we take these underground bases like with a grain of salt, but also take what we hear about what's in the treaties. Hey, Angela, bring it up. What's in the treaties, right? When they discuss, and I know I've also read that one of the things in the treaties was they were to receive these underground bases basically under native four corners, right? And under native property. That's also why I I kind of said that if you're a targeted individual, you need permission, obviously, but because of said treaties, you go to native property with permission, and the government cannot track you there. So, Firestarter was a documentary, yo.
Bruce was just talking about Father Crespi, right, and how the native people would bring all these artifacts from the tunnels and stuff. In my opinion, that's where the government got the UAP stuff, right? You're looking for the crafts that they recovered. It would be something so big left in an area like that it couldn't have been moved before. Maybe like a big world power found it,
You
or
guys
maybe
should
they still couldn't even move it.
in Ohio, because there's a pyramid in Miamisburg. Everybody talks about the Serpent Mound, but a lot of people don't talk about the Mound of Enon or the tablet that they found there along with the bodies. That this is from 1800 BC. They call it the Adena tribe, but they don't actually know the name of the tribe. But these tribes, like these people, were huge and they had technology. If you go look up the Mound of Enon, you'll see about the tablet, and then you'll see about how the tablet correlates with Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and in Jalisco, Mexico, in between Guadalajara and Jalapa. They found a lot of stuff there. I mean, if you start there, right at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and work your way down, it's a really good rabbit hole.
So what do you think those tablets are? I've always wondered about the tablets of
The
destiny and
tablets
things like that. Like, how would they be working?
Well, they're like, it's a story, but it's information. It's pretty much talking about aliens, gods, whatever you want to call them. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but they're talking about them coming down here and giving them information and teaching them. I mean, it's a huge story. It's kind of like the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's I can post the link, but not all of it's been translated, but I can post what I found.
Cool. Yeah, no, I just try to look at it from, like I said, like the science standpoint, right? So when we're talking tablets, I'm thinking maybe like a crystal or like some type of magnetic rock that they're using as a power source or something.
No,
So I was just
that's
curious what
actually
everybody else thought about it.
The Bosnian pyramids. If you're looking for a power source and stuff like that, Zimbabwe 1991 or the Bosnian pyramids, because two civilizations lived there. But when they were researching it, so this is like 2014, 2015, they were paying people to come over and help dig these rocks out because the second civilization completely rocked it up. But it was admitting its own electromagnetic field. So like there was like these petroglyphs inside. It's not petroglyphs. What's the other word? You know, like the hollow ones where there's something inside of it, but there's writing on top of it. Anyways, they have them in there, but when you would put like their equipment up to it, like the EMF detector, it would go off the charts. But like when you're inside of it, it completely blocks radiation from the outside. It's really, really neat.
Yeah, but that's because the site is so big, right? Like that's why it's producing those effects. But the tablets, they're like holding them, you know? So, Bruce, what you thinking, man?
Yeah, I was just say some of the stories to do with the tablet, you know, like the Greenstone, the Emerald tablets, some of these other accounts relating to the city, you know, that it's just you have to be in the presence of it for the information to be transferred to your mind rather than actually reading the tablets. So that again would go to the idea of it being, you know, some sort of psychic technology or meta tech or something, which makes me sense. And also, you think about the Greenstone and the Emerald Tablet, particularly if you look at the accounts of people interacting with Moldavite, right? That really is interesting because so many people, when they hold Moldavite, have strong psychic experiences, particularly cosmic related experiences in space or seeing aliens and stuff. I do suspect that, yeah, both the Emerald tablets and the Greenstone and stuff were made of Moldavite. And in fact, Moldavite has a long history of use by humans. In fact, if anyone's aware of the Venus of Wieseldorf, I think it is that really ancient, I think it's a 40,000-year-old goddess statue that was found in Germany. But when they found that actually was found alongside Moldavite, carved Moldavite pieces, but they were unfortunately lost. But Moldavite has a very deep history with human interest in that greenstone. The other thing I was going to say quickly, you know, not on the top, on the Serpent Mound, just when it was mentioned, is an interesting. If anyone's watched Graham Hancock's show on Netflix, he goes to the Serpent Mound. I expect for some of you have seen it, many of you probably seen it. But there's an interesting thing, and he didn't click on this, and most people wouldn't. But when he's talking about the Serpent Mound, he says it's mysterious because when you look from above, you can see that there's these faded two side kind of appendages that are showing, right? If anyone's seen that, they'll know where he references that. He doesn't know what those are. Those are actually feathers. Those are neck feathers on the serpent, right? How do I know that? Because those are depicted in Aboriginal art. That's the rainbow serpent, and that's the feathered serpent. But the feathers, it's just two feathers coming out of the neck. Now, you've got to think to yourself, why is an Aboriginal rainbow serpent being depicted in America at Serpent Mound, right? You know, and of course, I would say because it all goes back to Australia, that this knowledge traces back to the Aboriginal people and a movement out of Australia that took with it cosmic knowledge across the world. So just going to put that out as well. Cheers.
Snake Mountain is really awesome. I really, really recommend looking into Enon because, like, I grew up there. Well, for part of my life, from '91 to '99. But when I lived there, we dealt with a lot of paranormal experiences. Like, I don't know if you know me, but my dad's a Green Beret. My grandfather was a part of Operation Jedi Warrior at Fort Bragg in the '70s, which was a psychic super soldier program. My grandmother is Ann Jutman. She's a psychic remote viewer for the CIA, and I was kidnapped and sold as a baby. I'm trying to bring awareness to what they do at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. But when I lived at Enon, I have photos from age 5 all the way up to where you can see these entities standing behind me. And this is in the town of Enon. Like the entire area is built on actual mounds, and there's so much more history there that's not really even talked about unless you're local and you walk there and you go to these spaces and you feel it. Like it's really, really powerful. And I found Serpent Mound really, really interesting because they all line up. Every angle lines up with the equinoxes, except for one. It's kind of slightly off, but you wouldn't be able to tell by like directly looking at it unless you like are measuring it. But it also there's another one in, is it Alabama? I think it's Alabama, and they said it's made by the same people. The same people that made the ones in Jalisco, Mexico. And the one in Jalisco, Mexico, they found something big there because I mean they had Delta, they have a lot of contractors. Well, I can't say names, I don't want to get in trouble. I can talk privately, but that's a big one. You should look into it. I know it's in between Guadalajara and Jalapa.
I'm still
When I
here,
was reading
guys.
the book of when I was reading the Book of Mormon, they were talking about the ancient record was from Golden Place. They buried them. The Native Americans, like the Hopewell, had another civilization. They called it the Jaredites from before the fall of the Babylon. So they actually came over to the U.S. in boats. But as for the species continuation program, it would make sense that they would create bunkers because a lot of prophecies talk about some kind of pole shift. So it would be natural that the government would want to build some follow-up bunkers, if only just for themselves. And it also makes sense. How could they convince other nations to give 1% of the GDP to this UN whatever program? Well, they could have told them that the sun's gonna go nova or something. They'd probably bought it.
Sorry, guys. I'm still here. My brain's kind of exploding right now. I'm gonna have to look at some shit. So, let me ask you guys a question. You ever heard of a drive or a device or propulsion device, anti-gravity device or something that propels by creating a black hole in front of it instead of the opposite, a continuous black hole repetitively in front of it to bring it forward? Have you ever heard of that? I hadn't until recently, and I'm going to have to start. That just blows my fucking mind.
I'll send you
Isn't
some
that
documents.
isn't
Oh
that
my
like a
god!
warp drive, an Alcubierre drive, where you fold
Well,
space time in front of you?
well, that's compression and the expansion of it behind. Now, I don't know if that's the same thing. I'm picturing something different when I'm seeing a black hole opening up, and it's the
That's
gravity of the black
involving
hole.
PSI
It,
research. That's an actual whole entire project. Because you have to think it went Grill Flame, Stargate, Sunstreak, Centerlane, Gundala's Wish, Starflame, and then now it's PSI Tech. But
well,
that was one of the projects that they worked on, and they mastered that.
okay. Here's what's in my brain right now. The difference between a Cuvieri would be you have the expansion, the compression in the front, and the expansion in the back. Whereas with what I just said, you wouldn't need the back because the gravity that's in front of you would propel you forward, pull you forward. You wouldn't need to do shit anywhere else because the gravity there would do that, right? I
So
don't
they're
know.
using psionics to bend space time or opening a portal in space time like a wormhole.
Yeah, maybe I don't know this, but picture any million ways what you could do it, right? But somehow opening something in front of you that has such dense gravity that you're not needing to do shit behind you because you do with a Cuvieri, you need to actually in front and back. Whereas with this, if you have just your normal cosmos going and you throw something like a black hole, which is essentially the most dense object you can get, you're just man, is that what he's talking about when they're talking about propelling close to this
Yeah.
past the speed of light?
Mm. It kind of reminds me of, why are aliens seeding technology here by crashing their drones and stuff? Why do they give the government free technology? So like a drug dealer, first taste is always free. And they may have predicted that humans would just create drives. So if they can't invade and land on humanity because of some federation or quarantine over the earth, what if they give the natives technology, the natives use it to leave, and then they can snatch them up like in an extrasolar colony?
I kind of heard some shit like that. Now, and the reason I'm going to postulate, like, there was a Galactic Federation. Alex Collier talks about this, right? And that this Galactic Federation has some kind of I don't know, a barrier, but stuff gets through. Some negative shit gets through. And by negative, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the tall grays are positive because one man's treaty is another surrender. What I'm saying is there's supposedly I've read that before, right? And I keep seeing shit about this Galactic Federation, and I don't know where I'm at. Bruce, what do you think about the Galactic Federation right now? I heard the baby earlier, so he's probably being a good dad right now, actually.
I think there's like many confederations. Like the Law of One says they belong to like a local galactic confederation. you have to nail these people down very because anybody can pretend to be from the IRS and they ask for your bank account information to transfer money. That doesn't mean the email is legitimate. So you got to look for fishing expeditions is very popular in this galaxy for some odd reason.
What do you mean by that? Fishing expedition? Elaborate.
You know, when people email you and they're pretending to be from something and they're not, it's basically a scam. So you have to investigate who you're talking to. Like with the deep fakes on online, somebody calls you and they have some voice that's impersonating. So there may be a galactic federation or galactic confederation, but there may be imposters as well that are pretending to be the police. Like, but it's the police. Open up, then you open up and you get wrecked.
Wait a second, Mark. Tell me this. So you're telling me that hybrid Nordic that I'm supposedly married to could possibly be a reptile? You're fucking with me, right?
I'm saying that you need to be careful about who you're inviting into your home. Could be a vampire.
Energy vampires are very real.
Loosh. Who likes to eat that loosh? Yeah, I know.
So yeah, so the way I determine is I look at their frequency, but I also look at their power level. Are they still using technology? That looks like a Carter Ship 1 or 2 civilization. For a galactic federation or confederation with the power to quarantine the entire world from all negatives invading it, they would have to be at least Carter Ship 3 or higher in power level. So you look at their power level. What kind of ship would a Carter Ship 3 civilization have? And that would basically be like a light ship, something that they can materialize into existence or out of existence whenever they want, and your weapons don't do anything to them; they just reflex it back at you. So it has to be like that kind of civilization. If they don't have that kind of power, then it's probably they're probably not who they claim to be.
I want to add real quick before we move on, since we mentioned Loosh, and you know, I could promise. It's crossed my mind multiple times. The reason I have the friends that I have in the Yakima Valley, that whatever, is because they love the fact that it's an all-you-can-eat trauma Loosh buffet with me. So they just ride
I
along like
just dropped
gobble gobble.
documents of the Galactic Federation from CI.gov.
Again, thank you, Angela. I appreciate it. Who was that? Was it? I think it was Carolyn and then Bruce.
And I was going to add to Umar's comment there. It's like hook, line, and sinker every time, and it'll get you. It'll come from everywhere, and hook, line, and sinker is the thing.
Do you have an example? You sound like from experience, brother. Talk.
Fucking hell, man! I don't even want to get into that. But no, it sometimes it feels like okay. Infiltration comes from everywhere. And it can come from here. It can come from someone that you just meet or anything like that. And I don't think it's like a targeted individual thing. But sometimes sometimes if you feel that someone is around you for the wrong purpose, like you can feel that. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes too long to realize the fact that this person isn't here for good. They're here to drain you, like technically take your energy at certain points. Like whenever you feel at your highest point, um, a stranger or for a male it'd be a succubus, or female it'd be an incubus. Like, but there's like this whole occubus that's around us, and it's
Do you want me to explain it,
yeah,
Colin?
yeah,
Okay, so
Mark, go into it, please.
yeah, so looks what I'm getting is that he's talking about situations in business or in relationships like love where you meet someone and they look like they're in harmony with you. Therefore, you're benefiting, you're helping them, and then later on it turns out they're crazy or they're embezzling your funds. So that kind of creates a sense of betrayal where you thought you were working for everyone's highest good, and then you get betrayed, and then you get bitter, and that throws you off from your career and relationship goals. Now, for a species, of course, your goal is to grow and become more harmonious or less murderous, at least. And so there are like species that don't want you to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just it's weird. It's more than a speed bump. It's like a stopgap. It's like hitting a brick wall. It's like having the the perfect harmony in a song, and then it just hits a brick wall. Like that's not how life is supposed to be, and that's how it kind of feels like when people like that come into your life, and it feels harmonious, and yet they're just like feeding off of that just to understand how to like really ruin that. And I had my fair share of positive engagement, and I've had my fair share of negative engagement too. And I, right now, at my age on this planet, I just I don't know. There's not many people that I would want to let into my life and share secrets with or anything or knowledge with because I, it'll come to a point where I can't even trust myself. So I'll give up something and it'll be used against me. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling. And I'm sure a lot of people feel like that to where they can't say things because it'll be held against them. It's like we have our true intention within ourselves and it gets manipulated. But if it doesn't get manipulated, there are going to be other people that want it manipulated and it's going to make you feel terrible.
It
And
just means that you're very high on their priority list because you're strategically too important for them to leave alone. So they want to keep opposing you so that you develop this paranoia and wait, don't have enough energy to do what your mission was.
no, I definitely feel that. And, I could have died 10 years ago and I would have said, I've lived such a good life, like with accomplishment and everything. There was obviously negativity in there, but I pushed and pushed and pushed, and I had the energy to do so. But it came to a point to where I felt like I was being stripped of my energy because of uh, the decision to put myself around certain people, and like your energy gets drained on them. You think you're doing the right thing, and you say, "Oh, maybe I can help this person by doing this and doing this and doing this," and eventually, like your reserves run dry, and it's hard to climb back up, to where you were.
That's
And
that's the lesson to in order to graduate to the fifth density. That's the fourth chakra graduation to the fifth density, which is extremely important gateway. That lesson of how much energy can you expend before you become like a martyr.
it's lonely. It's very lonely and it's stressful. And the thing is, like, you know, I have probably a dozen close friends. That's it. I'm not going outside of that. But yet I know thousands of people and thousands of people know me, but I don't consider them friends. Like, we hung out a lot, we had good times, everything like that. And then I realize, in retrospect, like looking back, it's like, I was technically being just taken advantage of and just used. And all I thought I was doing was trying to provide like positive environments for people, having a good time and everything like that. And now that I look back at it and I look at all the rough times that I've been through, and I was like, who was actually there? Who was there to support me? Who wasn't there to support me? It's like good times, bad times. And then you realize my friend count is very low. It's you should have a very tight circle in life. It doesn't mean you can't go outside of that circle. It just means that you need to have a trusting circle. It could be a circle of 3. It could be a circle of 10, circle of 13. It doesn't matter. But we put too much trust in others and they use that shit against us on the regular, constantly. And I don't know where humanity has gone. It's I feel lost in it. I really do. And like, my visitations with those from above, I'm kind of wondering like, hey, why the fuck haven't you come pick me back up yet? Like, and show me something, like done something. And I'm just like stuck here in this void of unintelligible garbage division, and it fucking sucks. I have no clue how to actually deal with it. I mean, I, I don't know if anybody feels the same way, but it sucks, man. I feel privileged because I've seen what I've seen, I've been through what I've been through, but to not have any recourse, it's it's damaging. It's draining. Um, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on, guys.
Yeah, rambling is all good, man. And look, I don't think everybody knows about my experience, but I don't know what my experience is. I don't even know if I'm an abductee type of things. I could say if I followed a checklist maybe on some of these things, but I could tell you that the more I dig into and get answers, the more questions I have and the more confused I am about everything actually and why and all these other things. So anytime you come in these rooms, Sterling, you're always welcome too, man. That's what these spaces for. Actually, the only reason I started doing these spaces, I just needed a place to be able to talk about exactly what my experience was, which I still don't know what it is, but there's not any place for us. There's no AA for experiencers. Although, when I was at UFO Congress, shout out to Melinda Leslie, I see you in here. Let me bring you up. I saw her there too, right? They had some experiencers groups in person. And that's one of the reasons these rooms are super important to me. So, like I said, man, I get it. To think you know what's going on, and by that you now don't know what's going on is the worst feeling in the world. But at the same time, that shit keeps me going. I found my, I guess NAAA calls you higher power, and that shit was this. What is conscious? What is this in my life? All of a sudden, he had mentioned indigo children, that third eye, that chakra. So it just felt like, not the paranoia part, or maybe a little bit, but just felt like all of a sudden I could see the world for what it was supposed to be, as instead of the way everyone told me it was supposed to be. And then when that happened, I had questions, man. So that's what these rooms are for, bro. You're not rambling ever. Don't ever think that. What's up, Melinda? By the way,
Bruce, go.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't answer earlier on when you asked about the Galactic Federation. I was going to say that from my perspective, that amongst all the different, crazy weird phenomena going on, because there's a lot, there's no single answer for everything. Okay, I'll just preface that saying that, but I can say that amongst it all, in both the ancient material, ancient, evidence, the cultural narratives from different indigenous groups, and amongst contactees and experiences, I would say that there's enough to support, without saying absolute proof, but enough to support that there's at least two groupings of intelligences that we could call kind of galactic alliances or galactic federations, right? And that these center around, in my understanding, portals or kind of stargates that connect to Earth from Orion and from the Pleiades, and that these groupings of beings are multiple different types, some of them not even biological, some of them not even physical, but they're on both sides. You've got a mixture of beings associated with the stars of Orion, another group associated with the stars of the Pleiades, and that a lot of people say, particularly in the New Age, but they live on Alcyone or something. I don't think we can really go to that. I think that they may not originate at all from those star systems. I think that once you get to the thing about being, interstellar or interdimensional, really your home could be anywhere. But it just happens that that's where the portal to Earth. This is what my understanding is, that the portals that link to Earth, there's one in the Pleiades and there's one in Orion, and that they, whatever, however this works, whether it's from another dimension or whether it's in our space, whether it's a freaking simulation or whatever it is, but they link in from those two star systems, right? And that's again a lot of indigenous cultures we'll talk about as well. From my perspective, the contacts and stuff that my family have had, that fits with that. The evidence in my work on the Exogenesis book and talking about the outer ring of transmissions and stuff, that all relates back to that, and that's particularly with the Pleiades group, but also they do discuss the Orion group of beings. That there's always been a kind of a hostility there, and that's why it's even in our mythology about the Orion the Hunter chasing the Seven Sisters, that is linked to this conflict. That's why we have that star lore is in not just in Greece, that goes back, the ancient version of that is in Australia, again with the Aboriginals. You'll see they have that same story of the hunter chasing the Pleiades, because that's an ancient, well, prehistoric, conflict that they were also told about in their contact experiences, that this is a really deep rooted kind of Cold War between two different kind of galactic alliances that are super powerful and are somewhat evenly balanced to a degree, so that we are living in this kind of the chessboard of them playing out a Cold War here, rather than a real hot war where planets could be just crumbled by some of the things that they can do. And that's my kind of current understanding of why a lot of this stuff happens that way. Again, that doesn't answer everything. I know there's a lot of other weird stuff going on which wouldn't fit with that narrative. And there's a lot of beings that just don't seem to be associated with any of that. Sometimes people see a being that nobody else ever sees, and it only appears in one case, and all the rest. So obviously there's a lot of other weird stuff going on. But yeah, that's my take on it. Is that yes, there are these alliances. And I would just recommend a paper for people if they want to look at from a mainstream kind of take on that, and that's a paper 1960 paper by Robert Bracewell, and Bracewell came up with the idea. Bracewell probes, if anyone's heard of those, is the idea that aliens would use artificial intelligent probes to fly out, and to find other habitable worlds, or basically inhabited worlds, and that he posited that intelligent species would meet up with each other. Over time, they would explore, they would contact each other, they would form alliances, and then they would work together to further seek out other intelligences. And so, what they would likely do is send out these intelligent probes that would monitor star systems that either had life or that had the necessary precursors for life, and so that these technologies would wait there, and then at the right moment they would contact the civilization and could act as ambassadors of that intelligence, because these would be what they call Bracewell Sentinel probes. So an autonomous AI probe that can make contact and can interact with the beings of that system. So anyone wants to read that, it's a really interesting paper, 1960s paper. He was, a very acclaimed guy, and that's hence they've named these probes after him, the Bracewell probe hypothesis. But he posited the idea, of a galactic federation in that as well, that almost certainly that these groups would meet up and they would eventually encounter each other, and they would work to certainly the more benevolent ones would work together to work faster at contacting other civilizations and bringing them into this alliance. So yeah, it's from all takes, if you like, indigenous stories, contact cases, mainstream theories about how it would work. So it's I do go with that view that we do have some of these galactic alliances, but I'm wary of that term, because Shane, because that Galactic Federation, of course, there's a lot of New Age kind of wackadoodly do stuff associated with that term. But I mean, certainly galactic alliances, I think, exist. Yeah, that's my take.
That makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense. Hold on, Yamar. Before you go on, let me say that maybe that's what I'm looking for with Scott Andrews
It's hard to
and
hear
the
you,
StarKid.
Vet.
That's
You're muffled.
all right. Give me 1 second. Let me fix it. Right now,
Yeah, that's better.
can you? All right. Maybe that's what I'm looking for with the difference between Dan Sherman, Project Preserve Destiny, and the StarKid, the different alliances that are being communicated with. So thank you for that, Bruce. Put that paper in there. Shit. Yes, for real. I've heard stuff like that, and I'm not even messing with you. I've actually came across materials about those different. Yeah, that makes sense, because one of the things that I've actually read was if you've ever read Charles Hall and the Tall Whites, I think it's called Millennial Hospitality. There's high volumes of it. But
You're
in
getting
those
muffled
volumes,
again.
dang, just let me fix something real quick, all right? Take over for me, Jamie.
What Bruce said really resonated with me as well.
Copy that. Such great information. We definitely want to catch it. So that's why I wanted to interrupt because I know it must not be the only one that has a little bit of a hard time hearing some of the words because it's muffled. That
All right,
sounds so much
now,
better.
all right, what I was trying to say is all makes sense, Bruce. The reason I say that is some of the things that I actually ran across. If you get a chance to read Charles White, or sorry, Charles Hall and the Tall Whites, I think it's called Millennial Hospitality. There's 5 volumes in there. One of the things that struck me was when he describes the tall whites, he almost describes them as if they're tall grays that had hybridized Nordics and others and had features from all reptiles and all these others, right? So had a hook like a claw like the reptiles, and I think it was a face, but it actually also led me to some other stuff talking about the way one of these individuals, because you have the two, interacts with, I guess they go to planets and through subterfuge. Matter of fact, NSA was created from reading because of this interaction and this subterfuge, and they can gain access through specific individuals because of, I think it's DNA. Is that right, Bruce? And kind of in a way take them over. You ever heard that?
Sorry, I
Or
didn't catch the last bit. Sorry. Can you
so
just...
I was reading that the tall gray, one of these alliances, they succeed on going from planet to planet and integrating themselves, hybridization, as well as they're once there's hybridized, they can get into specific individuals, such as in the NSA and all that. So they're somehow controlling some individuals in a way we don't understand. Have you ever heard or read anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that it's a there's a suggestion of a parasitical kind of relationship with these beings, like that. Yes, that there's a way somehow backdoor to hackers, and that I think when you look at it, what's really interesting in the context, I know that some of this, again, anecdotes, but if you look at a lot of the abduction cases, one of the things that's really interesting is that there are people who, at least in their experience, whether these are happening as physical or on some other plane of existence, I don't know, but they have the experience. They see the other people who are zoned out, right? They can't do nothing, and they try and wake these people up, and they can't, right? These people are totally under the control of whatever this intelligence or technology is. But some of these people are not. They're not hacked, right? And that suggests that there are some of us that have a genetic predisposition to a defense against either these psi abilities or these technologies, right? So there's something different. And again, this has been one of the phrases that, I and other people have, is that maybe that some of these intelligence are looking to see these bloodlines and to say, well, why is that family not got, this low susceptibility? Is it something in their genome? And I know if you think about it, some of the stuff that Gary Nolan's hinted at, the idea that there might be a way to produce something that defends against abduction or being hacked, right? Because if you think about it, if you can find a gene therapy, right, that gives you that same defense that some people seem to have, then potentially you could roll that out and defend everyone on Earth from being hacked, or abducted. Now, again, those abductions may not be physical, but still they experienced as physical. But if you could be defended against psychic and other influence, right, that would be quite mega. And I kind of suspect that's the direction some of these scientists are thinking along the lines of, is that if this is in the, if you look at, I know you guys talked about the guy from Ions earlier, I've forgotten his name now, but that he's looked at genetic hereditary of psych powers, right?
Dean
That they're
Radin.
finding evidence that there are, yeah, Dean Radin, that he's found, their team have found evidence that some of these psi abilities, they are linked to specific genes. So, and that they do run in families, they're heritable. So when you start putting some of this stuff together, it makes for an interesting picture, right? And also we know that some of the beings, that my understanding again of this group, particularly the Pleiades group, is they're not interested in a kind of a contact with our government in any kind of that kind of way, and that they're interested in interacting with people that have the right capabilities for an interaction. Right? And that's what they're interested in. They're not interested in the idea that there's a hierarchical person that we hallucinate to believe is the top of the planetary, hierarchy. That is just a meaningless concept for these beings. They're interested in beings that can contact on their psi level, if you like, to have those interactions, right? So that there's no reason for them to try and approach it in this weird way that you talk to the president. It just it doesn't make any sense. It's very obvious they're not doing that. They're doing that because they're already talking to people, right? They're already talking to people. They're talking to cleaners and school teachers, just people that have that right profile to be able to have that conversation. And some of that may be the genetics. So yeah, and there, on the other hand, there is a kind of what seems to be a parasitical type interaction with some of these intelligences and influencing people to do things that they shouldn't be doing, or to flip them out and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, definitely that's appears a lot. I think you look across the literature of contact cases and what's happening in these genetic research areas, you can kind of put some of that together. And I think that's, we're not too far off if you think along those lines.
Do you
Awesome.
think?
Yeah,
Let me ask
actually.
you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, Jamie, go ahead. I'm sorry, I wasn't even paying attention. You may have
Oh,
even.
okay. It's okay. I was going to mention that yes, the Genetic Society research thing. I didn't donate. I submitted my DNA for that one and did the questionnaire and all that stuff. And so I still have to read what they've printed on it. But I'm excited to do that. I keep forgetting. But now that I have a tablet, I'm going to be able to see things way easier. So I'm excited. Go ahead, Andrew. Or go, I'm sorry, Old Vet, and then Andrew, probably. You were going to say something, Shane? And Andrew has his hand up.
I'm sorry, I was
Shane's in another window. He's
something.
doing some research.
Yeah, I was posting something. I was literally looking and put it. So go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I was just going to say two or three things real quick. One is that I'd like hearing what you were saying, Bruce. It's very parallel to what Yamar was saying a while ago. I've agreed. I think it's been a great space, and it's been an excellent conversation, because this is what I've kind of always believed, and I guess I never would have considered myself an experiencer until I started hanging out in UFO Twitter and realizing, yeah, I probably am. Not the way some people are, but I do think that um, it's like the expression "birds of a feather flock together," and we attract, based on our vibration. But that being said, I think that even people who are not UFO experiencers, or who would never say that, are going through the same thing we all are. I don't think it matters what planet you're from and whether it's your first time here or your 5,000th or whatever. I think we literally are going through the experiences that our souls need. And as far as consciousness, I've just been convinced a very long time, based on studies, research, and my own insights. I think, yeah, we are consciousness. We are the soul. We are immortal beings. And I do think we're here having the human experience. So it's like the police say, we're spirits in the material world. And it's also biblical, we're to be in this world, but not of it. And most of us here, I think, if we haven't figured it out by now, Carolyn, you're speaking to that. We're all speaking to that. Our experiences have told most of us a long time ago. We know firsthand there's a lot more than the physical. And I know that some of the Eastern systems, they may say astral, and there's a mental plane, and spiritual planes beyond that. That's kind of how I see it. But we also have to appreciate that it's right here. It's right now. And the reason I really jumped up was because I appreciated what Bruce was saying. I just had a quick comment on that, and it's really that I don't know if I caught everything. I have to try to listen carefully, but when you talk, Bruce, but I guess I say that I would be interested in treatment for certain things, and I hope people will consider that, if they're having contact experiences or psychic phenomena or what have you, that they can't lock down, or that we're not able to suppress, and certainly that are not pleasant. Some people are being currently abducted. We know about this and we talk about it often. That's where I think that some of these techniques, instead of having to go to the great lengths that some of us are, or that some of you are, I think it would be wonderful to have a safe treatment, something that can be tested, proven. And that's why I do appreciate what Gary Nolan and others in that field are doing, because there needs to be the physical plane science that can deal with that. What I would not be interested in ever is like a hard wiring, go in there and lobotomize, or otherwise, do treatments that are irreversible. And I say that because although it might give people great relief today, what about tomorrow? What about next week or next year or whatever? I think that the real challenge is to deal with psychic gifts, whether it could be mediumistic tendencies from another lifetime, could have been trauma. We often talk about trauma as triggering that. And I think that there's it's almost like a silver lining in that cloud. I think the real purpose of the trauma is to obviously to heal. It's telling us, well, there's wounds wherever they originate, however they come to us, and we talk about the different ways that happens. So that to me is life being purposeful. Call it God, call it higher power, and in some cases, whether we call them ETs or angels, I think their consciousness is so far advanced, they may technically be more human than the beings we call angels, but I do think that they are all going to have our best interests in mind. And those are the high vibrational types, obviously, who, as we were saying before, Yamari, you're using the, I forgot the scale, but those are the beings that are not going to be dependent upon the technology. And if they use it, it's augmenting their consciousness, but they're not ultimately dependent upon it, whether it's in the astral plane, physical, or what have you. And then the other thing I wanted to say, and I'll make it quick, but it's a link down there in the blue pill or whatever you call it. I posted on this being called Vrillon, and Bruce, it's okay if you roll your eyes a little bit, and when others, I think Garrett's got his hand up, but I was going to say, Bruce, if you wanted to jump in on that after Garrett or whatever, or others, if you've heard of Vrillon, I know that the criticism will be, okay, well, that's very new agey, it's what you called that, but I gotta say, for some reason I like V. Valiant Thor, I've always been interested in. I tend to believe that the Venusians are the real deal. I think they're just in a higher ether, and when they come here, I think their vibration lowers either automatically, or I think they may have to, choose to do that. But I would say they're a spiritually advanced species, and or race or whatever. And I think they're very closely linked to human evolution. I think the scriptures prove that. They may get called different things in different texts, but I think they're called Lords of the Flame or Kumaras or different things in the different books. And is Valiant Thor one of them? Well, supposedly he was a created being and spent 3 years with our government. I don't know. But the being I mentioned is Vrillon, who claims in this message that was received at it's 1977 Southern Television, somewhere in England, this broadcast that was hijacked, obviously, and very localized signal that was hijacked has always fascinated me. It's not real clear. You get different versions. The version I posted may not be the clearest, but it does have an English translation. I mean, it's got a verbal printout of what you can't always hear what he's saying, but this voice, I want to know, okay, if this really was an alien being, an ambassador claiming to be with the Ashtar Galactic Command, well, then where'd you get the voice? Is that a human voice you're copying? I like to think if they really are who they sound like they are, they're probably so sophisticated that part doesn't worry me. What I'm interested in is it real? Because although people have said, oh no, that was a hoax, I've never ever seen like solid debunking proof, like, oh, we know it was a hoax, because anybody can claim that, show it, back it up. And therefore I say, although yes, the message sounds very flowery, love and light, y'all got to come together as brothers, that's kind of what he's saying, but they get so specific that I would urge you, if you've never heard of Vrillon and you've been researching this stuff, give it a second look or give it a first look, because they're kind of telling us that, and this was back in 77, mind you, they're telling us that our leaders, so-called leaders, are going to essentially strip away the energy that we call money. And to me, that's this acknowledgement that we still think of money as this, concrete object, when money really is our energy. It represents our labor. It represents actual effort, and it's not always, products that we're selling. So I think money is like our circulatory system, and any higher species, I think, would recognize that we're obviously having some problems on our planet right now with greed, with destruction, and runaway vices. So I think it would make sense that if they did want to help us, they would be warning us. Listen, that's what we're seeing right now. Whatever you want to call that is trying to kind of pull the ultimate rug out from under everybody's feet. And I think that's why we're in this. I know I'm long-winded. I'm sorry, but we're in this pivotal, to me, crux moment where humanity is really kind of turned. We're trying to steer our ship here. And we know the Earth's going through a lot. We were talking about dumbs in the space earlier, and to me, all of that is showing us that the powers that be know that something's coming, and that seems to be beyond debate. And so an alien species would know that as well, especially the benevolent ones who really want to help us through that, including those that might have an interest in the planet, the resources. It might not be about us, but I do think those who care would want to try to get us to look at a spiritual message, which is why I know it's a little new age airy fairy, but at the same time, I want to just know if it's been disproven, by whom, and back it up. Otherwise, I want to know who the hell Vrillon is, and what are we going to do when he gets out of the spacecraft? Are we going to pull up Ray Bradbury Martian Chronicles and blow him up as he's holding up his hands in the Vulcan salute, Or are we going to say, yeah, I want to meet the guy that's actually responsible for that message, if it's real? Anyway, thanks for letting me ramble, and I'd love to hear a response to that when
Well,
we get around to
very
it.
quick response to what you said there, and that was on the about these therapies, and obviously that there could be a downside, that we have to be careful how you utilize things like that. I mean, it's quite interesting because, if you look at Rudolf Steiner's work, he predicted that in the future there would be a vaccine of the spirit, where you'd basically have this injection, and the injection would cut you off kind of from the higher realms and the spiritual realms. Now, that's kind of interesting. You think about it, if we're looking potentially at genetic therapies that would stop kind of psychic invasions by alien parasites of the mind or whatever, right? Or aliens abducting you, like, could not such a therapy also potentially cut you off from your psychic abilities to reach a higher realm or to reach, spiritual enlightenment? That's the flip side of all of our technologies. We know, nuclear power, great. Nuclear bombs, not so great. So, I mean, there is that potential there. And I think, we'd have to be very cautious about the idea of using therapies to block something that we don't even really understand, right? So, so just comment on that.
And Bruce, thank you for saying that. That's exactly what I forgot to mention, and I'm glad you caught it. I'm not surprised you did, but that's Chupacabra would have said it because he's into the Rosicrucianism and the anthroposophy. But that's exactly what Steiner warned us about. That's what made me want to say that middle part, and thank you for responding to it, because that's the danger, is if you turn it off permanently, maybe we really need that. Anyway, thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Go ahead, Garrett. What's up, man?
What's up, Shane? I just wanted to come in and tell you you're doing a good job and say what's up, and I hope you're having a good night. Honestly, bro, that was all of that. I apologize, but all of that was very long-winded. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, but you guys got to understand that from an unbiased source, you're not going to sell them the way that we're talking about this topic. And when I just want to say, for example, if you look at the message of Jacques Vallée in Messengers of Deception, or even further back in the 1700s with that Swedish theologian and mathematician named Emanuel Swedenborg, they warn us about how these entities lie constantly. And I wanted to know how you guys reconcile these, in my opinion, well-respected individuals talking about this topic in a way that has a very clear element of deception to it. And I know that we're yearning for things.
Oh, you're cutting out.
You're cutting out, Garrett.
We have to. All right, never mind.
No, we got it. You came back. Don't never mind us, bro. We got almost all of it. You just cut out real quick.
I wanted to just make it clear that I think that a lot of these experiences people have, as beautiful as they may seem, have a very sinister element to them. And I think that if we look, I wanted to say one example is the Book of Ra, I think it's called. I think Don Elkins wrote it. It was a book that was written through channeling, supposedly. And when I looked at these individuals that wrote this book, it ended up being that these people were very closely associated with this Dr. Andrija Puharich that's in the title of the space. And I think that if we really use Occam's razor and look at the technologies that have been available since the times of these channelings, I think we need to really start with a terrestrial human explanation until it's not warranted. Like, until the evidence is overwhelming that this is non-human, like that Vrillon thing, that I'm sorry, Andrew, but like, I don't think that was something that would be outside the realm of human capability. I'm familiar with it. I thought it was really cool, but like, I thought that it was some human shenanigans going on. And I just want everyone to just really like not take all this shit as gospel, like I know it's really exciting, but like at the same time we can't lose our heads, because that's, if you look back at the early 2000s with Stephen Greer, is like we started to make ourselves look ridiculous by talking about this so speculatively. And like, if you guys got any, here's what I wanted to say. If you guys got a book, I think the Galactic Federation is baloney. And I'm sorry if that hurts people's feelings, but if you have a book or an author or a source that you really think that is cool, let's go. Put up or shut up. But otherwise, I think that like we can spend our times on these people that I've heard mentioned, Gary Nolan, fucking all these To the Stars people, Hal Puthoff, even Jack Sarfati, like all these guys, regardless of what end of the spectrum they're on, they are really exciting individuals. And I just think it does us a disservice to speculate a little wildly. That's the only 2 cents I had.
Okay, thanks. I can take what he was asking. I can take the question that he was asking.
Okay,
Basically,
hold on, real quick, before you go on, let me tell Garrett.
It wasn't for you. I don't want that individual to answer me.
All right, hold up, everybody. Just everybody take a break. Here's what I was going to say to Garrett. I agree, actually. And I tell people often, it's a game. You got to play the game. You got to learn how to figure out the real from the shit. And by that, I mean, oftentimes, because of disinfo, because of the stuff that's out there, you have to play the game. So you do have to be wary. And we do talk about a lot of stuff that may get out there and things. So Garrett's got a point, though, too, on some. But I'll say that he is on point about Jack. But everyone in these rooms, grain of salt, and he is being real about one thing. So one of the things I also talk about, what we say and how we act, actually, it reflects on all of ufology, right? And I'm not saying in these rooms right now. What I'm saying is when we come at people outside, when we talk about certain things and stuff like that, I get all this too. So we got to pay attention to that and start kind of like Gary Nolan said, in the room. Whenever we talk to people outside these rooms, we need to understand that we can't start right up. Hey man, abduction's legit and start. You may want to start somewhere else because again, it turns a lot of people off, unfortunately. And trust me, I'm only telling you this as someone who's found out the hard way, like on every date, right? Like no one wants to talk about UFOs like I do. So like that's that shit, right? So go ahead, Bruce.
I would like to
Yeah,
address
I was going to
Garrett's
say,
question.
sorry,
Hey,
about the
Ted,
skepticism.
I was next.
Okay, so well, just the host was saying for me to reply as well. It's up to you. I was only going to say on the skepticism thing, reply to Garrett's point that basically, yeah, you should use skepticism. Anyone who follows me knows that I am very skeptical on pretty every case, every famous case. I'm skeptical of it, and that yes, the whole topic is full of disinfo and intelligences that are manipulating people, or that for even the kind of benevolent ones seem to use a degree of trickery and deception. I personally suspect that some of that is for teaching you to be more discerning, that it's not necessarily malicious, but it's to make you more discerning, to say that, look, any of us can trick you. Even the ones that are being friendly, we can trick you. So wake up, be more careful. I mean, that's happened to me, and that's one of the reasons why I am very discerning. So I've learned that, you do have to be discerning, and you do have to be skeptical of all of these contacts and intelligences. And, the history of ufology is replete with many people who were led to Mary Towns. And they went out and told everybody, the UFO is going to land on Tuesday or whatever, and made fools of themselves or ruined their lives. So, yeah, you do have to take it all with a big pinch of salt and do everything you can to, fact check.
Thanks for that, Bruce. Who was next?
I was next.
And listen,
Yeah.
only one
Well,
rule in these rooms. We can all disagree and talk about whatever the hell we want, but we're going to do it respectfully, right? It doesn't matter about where we stand.
yeah,
We're just not going to be going at each other. Like, we don't scream grifter
yeah.
and call names. We come with points and
Well,
arguments.
I mean, I heard about the galactic thing or whatever it is, and far as the name calling about, they know these kind of aliens and this alien's good and that alien's bad. I mean, I can't tell you which ones are good or bad, but I tell you one damn thing. Some of these people are just writing these books to make money. Okay. I think we need to have a panel with me and some other people because I'm the one that sees the invisible dimension, and we need to have like if anybody's going to talk to the aliens as an ambassador, it's got to be me. And I don't care about what y'all think about,
All right.
uh,
Have a good night,
you know,
Shane.
and the thing is, you could do Greer, me and Greer could have a debate. Y'all could vote about stuff. But Dr. Greer can't see shit. Okay. He doesn't have night vision. He can't see through fucking walls and shit like I can. And I'm telling you,
Hey,
man,
no, hold up. Open eye. Open eye. Open
it's gonna,
eye. I know you don't
yeah,
like,
go ahead.
brother, I know you don't like Greer. and I agree with a lot of the things you're saying, right? But why do you? Let me just take a step back, right? So if you have an for humans, right? Why? I mean, I know you think it's you, but don't you think that there may be other possibilities of others out there that could maybe? Because think about this. I know I'm a bad motherfucker, but I can tell you that I definitely don't want to represent humanity. I probably don't want to represent a piece of shit. But my point being is, I think we should pull back from thinking that kind of stuff, right? I'd rather talk about the moon more than right. Do you think actually he was about to save my ass down horrible
Hey,
UFO shit?
yeah, you're breaking up right now pretty bad. Look, the thing is, we need a panel though. I mean, Greer, what's that other dude? Shit, I can't remember all the names. Lou, some of the other people. I mean, we need a panel. I just can't, it's not just going to be me. It's going to have the magnificent seven or seven of us at least to be on a panel to go talk to the aliens because uh, the stuff that they did, the government, they made a deal with aliens. And
You, Barrett, Lou Zondo, Chris Mellon, that's my dude. Garrett, you in? Hey, we got to move around the room real quick. Okay. Here, who's up next? We got Carolyn this time.
Yamar.
Yamar, was it you? My bad. Go, Yamar.
I've
That
been on for a
sounded
while.
hostile. Yamar.
Okay. So Garrett challenged us to what was it? How to detect whether things are fake or not. So from my personal point of view, and I know he doesn't want to hear it, but that's fine. Other, it's a if you challenge me, I am allowed to respond to you. You give me permission. It's a divine magic thing. So when I hear Verlon, he sounds like he's serious. That television guy. That's just what I'm receiving. Like the remote viewers, we get what we get. It's just a data point. You don't have to believe us. I'm not selling you anything. I don't want to sell you anything. Why would I want to be popular in a world that is in the process of genocide? Do I want your approval? Do I want your approval? Am I afraid of you? Am I afraid of humanity? No. If the entire humanity said that they would kill me if I said something, and my spirit said to say it, I would obey myself. I don't care what you humans say or do to me. So that's my perspective. If you want to be afraid of the government and what other people say because they think you're crazy or something, and you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Me, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna live my life the way I want to live, and to hell with the totalitarian government, to hell with the red shield tyrants. That's what I say.
See, Yamar, you are like metal as fuck, man. That's
Yeah, I
what
was
I
gonna say
love
that.
about
Thank you for
you.
that, Mar. And I was gonna say this: I live my life according to however the elf waves or VLF waves tell me to live my life. So, if you see something in the news and it's me, it wasn't me. It was elf or VLF. I promise. Maybe Puharich from the grave. Well, who's up next? Was it Mistress Carolyn? No, Carolyn. You actually might have been up because you said made a comment and your hand went down.
Yeah, no, I was just I admire Yamar. I admire you, man, because like it's crazy to understand like the gloom and doom shit and still have like such a great sense of humor. And like we do have to laugh at ourselves. Um because like I don't know, all the fear and the misunderstanding comes from our lack of willing to understand or achieve the knowledge. Uh yeah, so I understand where you come from. Like I feel that you're very comfortable in knowing um what is happening, and I think a lot of us are. Like we really do. Like you get to a point where you don't really have any fear whatsoever. Um, once you've gone through so much turmoil and bullshit, near death experiences, everything like that, experimentation, um, like, yeah, it's just it's refreshing to know that there are other people out there that are probably the same as you, almost exactly the same as you, and knowing that like the traumatization has not really destroyed you, and it's just it's enlightenment. It's dry humor, it's bad humor, it's everything. We can still laugh at all the chaos, and the people that still exist here that have knowledge and they can do that. That shit makes the world a better place. So Yamar, I'm glad that I found you on Spaces and stuff. Olvet, I'm glad that you host these spaces. All of this, everybody that's involved in all these spaces when with UAP, UFO, Twitter, paranormal, everything like that. This is such a great place to just meet like-minded people or people that are searching for answers, and we actually get that here, and this is a privilege we've never had, and I don't even know exactly who to thank for this. I mean, Elon.
Well, you can thank me for muting you on accident. I didn't mean to do that, but you can also. I apologize, bro. I accidentally was. I wasn't trying to.
No, it's all
Oh
good.
man,
It's all good.
yeah, that's not what I meant to do. But let me tell you this: I'm appreciative of everybody in these rooms because they bring a different perspective. I like to kind of pull these things into my brain and see if I've ever heard anything like that. But to Garrett's note, he has a point because I spend sometimes 15 hours a day researching, reading shit that I often wonder, am I reading someone's mental illness or is this real? I'm not even messing with you. So he has a very valid point and post and retweet so much. I often I'll spend 15 hours a day and sometimes I wonder, did I just spend 10 hours reading someone's freaking malaria dream? Because there's a lot of that here. Disinfo, things like that. And it's like, oh shit, what do I do with that? Right? And I'm not dissing anything anybody says because like look, I can promise there's probably nobody that believes the wildest shit that I believe, but mine's because with my experience, anything goes, right? It doesn't mean anything's real, but I'll read anything, shit like that. But he has a very valid point when we come out screaming. So nobody come out screaming this shit to the public. Like I don't go on a date and start talking about Timothy McVeigh, elf waves, and the Oklahoma City bombing. It's not the very first thing I do. Maybe the third thing I do, and that's how I get lucky, right? Because that's how the ladies like it. So who is up next? Which one of you
Yeah,
guys?
I think I was next. How's everyone going? Look, enjoying the chat. I think everyone's making some valid points. But look, with what Andrew was talking about, that television broadcast, yeah, that very easily could be explained away by someone overriding a repeater tower nearby, and I think that's what actually happened, right? So um, the other gentleman suggested it was a data point. It's kind of not a data point if it's not relevant and it's fraudulent. If it's a grift, if it's we don't want that. We want we want to deep dive and try to peel back the truth of what's going on, and those things are distractions. But also, I agree with a lot with what Garrett said also. But what I'm probably challenged with what Garrett said was you kind of make the assumption that well, first of all, like you basically said, we should be following A, B, and C person, right? And the rest is junk, and it's ridiculous that we should speculate on the rule or whatnot. And I disagree with that. I think we should always speculate on what we don't know, especially we've been misinformed from the start as far as what the true nature of reality is, and why should we listen to those people that you named when they will claim to have the truth but don't tell us the truth, but instead insist that it should come from a place of fear or it's negative. And it also kind of gives notion to that, like we're dealing with what look. I'm not dismissing Gary Nolan or any of those people. They're great at what they do, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with an area of science that doesn't exist. We're dealing with the ethereal, like with the ether. We're dealing with something that's spiritual, call it spiritual, but whatever is behind it, what gives rise to what life is, that's what we're dealing with. And there's no, unless you refer me to a priest and say they're an expert in that area. But then again, I would probably say they're probably not. We're dealing with something that there's no area of science sort of yet that sort of gives way to that. And to suggest that it's all evil, and that we shouldn't speculate even, and that's ridiculous. I challenge that. And I just think that we should discuss it, and we should throw our ideas out there, because that's who we are by nature as humans. We're designed to be curious. We're designed to sort of want to understand and want to know. So, but yeah, with all due respect. So I loved everyone's points, and I respect everyone's opinions, and I'm a bit older as well, and I've been in sort of like walked those shoes, and as you get older, and Shane will know this, as you get older, your views change. You live life, you see things. You go through things, and then it changes your understanding, it changes your perspective and your appreciation. And but like as older people, we've walked those shoes as younger people, so we get that, we get it. That's all. Great chat.
Bravo. Thank you, Benno.
Thank you, Benno. Appreciate it. Who was up, Jane? Was it you or Mistress?
No, not me. Somebody.
Mistress or Angela?
I think it was Andrew and then Mistress, then me.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure.
You're
All right,
a polite group of individuals. I like this. Just whoever feels
absolutely.
Like going.
I think Benno made most of my points. Yeah, Benno made most of my points, and I think others have too. So I'm gonna just touch on a couple things, and I had them ready right quick. But yeah, I think Occam's razor is a good principle to steer towards. I do think that if you're not careful, you'll be like Van Gogh. You'll end up with your ear in a box or something, though. So you got to remember, there's a lot of woo that some of us are experiencing every day. Some of us have experienced it since we were 2 years old and had our first, out of body, astral body, projection, whatever. And then I had a experience with my spiritual teacher when I was 3 years old, standing next to my mother, and pretty much was above a valley in Tibet, looking down on probably where they have the Wessex Festival or Vaishakhi, however you call it, every year. And I've known that spiritual teacher in modern life since I was about 18 years old or so. So the point I'm going to make, and then I'll make other quick points, would be discernment. It really does come down to discernment. And I think we're allowed, not only allowed, it's like we just said, if you're not questioning other people's discernment, then you're looking at a talking head. And you're just trying to pick your whoever, is your favorite disclosure mouthpiece. And we have our favorites, and there's other people we don't want to hear. But the point, and we're not going to always agree with each other's talking head, but I think that's where Benno made a very good point. We have to, I have to continue to question my experiences, and that's where I agree with Garrett. He made an excellent point, and we tend to agree with that, and that is, don't take it all as gospel, and don't take it all as surface value. And in fact, you may find it's like the layers of the onion or the glass onion. You're constantly peeling that away, and what makes sense one whole year, may not make sense the next year. The stuff I've gone through, and I won't get into it here, but the stuff I went through in this past year led me for such a loop that I damn near felt like, in fact, I still do. I totally relate to what Carolyn's saying. I feel like throwing in the towel, but the flip side of it is I identify with Humar, and with other things Carolyn was saying. Totally, because I do know some of my experiences, and with all due respect, I don't give a damn who questions, who believes me, who doesn't. I know what I've been through, and the spiritual experiences that are, if I may say so, rock solid, well, I stand on that same rock. Now, I'm still going through my own personal, you can call me an apostate if you like, but if you read my profile, I'm not making anything up, and I'm not here I am here to create waves. You're damn sure I am. And if I could cripple your money system, boom, if I could snap my fingers and tomorrow you wake up and your money was worthless, I'd do it. And the reason I do it is not because I hate anybody, and it's not because I hate money. Money's done nothing wrong, but human greed will kill us all if we let it. And in the meantime, they'll distract us with war and, other things that I shouldn't mention. And I wasn't going to say any of that. So I'll just say, the phrase in your Bible is, by their fruits ye shall know them. I think that applies to human beings, angels, demons, devils. Most of it's obvious by now, and yet people are still trying to put devils and demons into positions of power. And I ask myself, dear God, what more do you want? Meanwhile, some of the most benevolent of the ETs, just because they look different, people do every day call them demons. And I say, yes, there's a trickster element, but I'm going to resort back to my mythology and study more about Loki. And hell, I missed that series. I thought they canceled it. If they brought it back, God help us. I got to get in there and watch my Loki if there really is something new. But I just love that trickster element, if it doesn't take us too far down the rabbit hole or push us where we're not ready to go. And then again, if it's for a greater good, yes, I don't think all the strain should fall to us experiencers, but it doesn't. And we're learning to communicate That's what we're here to do. So I've said most of this, but I just want to say quickly, I never said that I would, defend Vrillon to my dying breath because I think it easily could have been hijacked. That's the Occam's razor explanation. I tend to think that may be what happened. I just want to know who did it. And they had good motivations, but I'd rather they come forward now and say, okay, yes, that's what happened. Because otherwise, you still can't prove that that's what happened. That we're trying to find the explanation. And similar to that, let's look at crop circles. I'll say it quickly. Look at the work. I could post something later. William Lefty, they call him Lefty Levengood, did excellent research on crop circles, and he's the guy that taught us how they're made by counter rotating vortices from the
Yes, actually, no,
ground.
I agree with you, Andrew. He showed the difference between fake and real. No, I agree with you on that. It is a great book, so post it because people should check it out because there's a
Yeah,
huge difference between man-made and how the. So go ahead on that. I'm sorry, Andrew.
yeah, no, thanks, Shane. That's the point. Is that there you can tell the difference because well, first of all, there's counter rotating vortices, but they come not from above; they come from underneath. Now, I'm not saying it's not ET and that they're not trying to communicate with us when they're real, but what I'm saying is you can't just say, "Oh, we filmed it. It's those little lighted orbs from above." And I'm not saying that's not real. What I'm saying is there's too much geometry there, and I do think I'm not trying to. I'm just pushing back gently, Shane, because I feel like when you look
You're
at the
fine,
crop,
Andrew, but wrap it up for us, brother.
you got it, you got it. When you look at the changes that are on the microscopic level, the nodes and all of that, the most important part, if there's one thing that I just believe from the next world, Lefty Lemongood would want us to hear that the crops that were affected produce better yield, that there's a more bountiful harvest, and the food is better. It is a healthier food for you, like more nutritious, and that's the opposite of what's happening with something like Monsanto Bayer. So it's like whether it's the Earth Angels, the Devas, whatever you call them, nature spirits in cooperation with ET, in cooperation with God, divine intelligence. I don't have the answers, but I don't have the answers about Varellon either. So what I'm just doing is trying to fire people up and say, hey, let's look at it. And I'd rather it's like, let's not call it woo just because it's out there. Let's not shoot it down because it doesn't align. And I'm not trying to defend a character or a personality. But when I say people go after you, okay, the ad hominem with Stephen Greer, I'll wear you out before you wear me out. Meanwhile, I'm gonna
We
look.
got you, Andrew, brother.
I'm
You
gonna
fired
I'm
up
gonna
like a fool, bro. You
but
fired.
let me point this out. Let me point this out. He's got mostly veterans who have some of them been active duty even when they went forward. People like Sergeant Carl Wolf, and he's got people that had been in NASA and seen the airbrush photos. And most of these witnesses for Dr. Greer are good, solid people. One or two might have been fudgy or whatever. And yes, he even got Doty in there, but we've had him in spaces and people seem to listen to him. So what I'm saying is question everyone. I didn't say don't trust. I just say question. And that means that look past the personality and the grifting and the shifting and the bullshit and say, yeah, but look at what these guys told us, some of them 20 and more years ago. And let's not cast that by the wayside, or as they say, throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I didn't mean to go on. I could go on forever, but thanks for
You're all
letting me
right,
ramble.
brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. In this community, there ain't many reporters. And in the community, sometimes there's disinfo. Some of these reporters maybe do stupid shit. I'm not going to name names. But you shouldn't judge the whistleblower based on the individual they have to fucking go to. Because look at me. I'm a reporter. I'm your pro. That should be scary. There's not a lot of us that'll take this shit seriously and listen to someone talk about shit like Spartan 1 and 2. So that's what I get. I don't even pay attention to like whoever it is bringing it. Like if it's Linda Moulton Howe or Greer, doesn't matter to me. But when it's Michael Herrera telling a story, I will tear that piece apart and start looking elsewhere for information. Or if it's other things like that, if he's giving information out, I don't care what his motives are. They may be for attention and wealth. Who gives a shit? Vet the information. That's all I can do, man, is say that, right? So I spend a lot of time going through garbage. And then a lot of time, shit, I just posted some information from Spartan 1 and 2 about the pulsar map. And I know a lot of people give shit to Linda Moulton Howe because of prices, money, things like that, right? Speaking of money, you guys, you can tip me all you want, and I'm not going to call myself a grifter. I promise. So let's get around the room. Who is next?
Mistress than me.
Mistress.
Yeah, some really good points are being made. This is why I love spaces because you get various different perspectives on things, and I totally get what you were saying, Garrett. Like, it's important to be skeptical, and it's good to have people like you around that keep us grounded and, you know, things like that. But the thing that we have to understand that is often the case is truth is stranger than fiction. And this has been the case for a very long time. Yeah, like we just we don't know what we don't know. And you know, like in regards to discernment and that kind of thing, like um there are two kinds of people in the world that I think are really great at that. One of them would be like engineers, because they have to try and figure out how stuff is made and, you know, how to engineer it and all that kind of thing. And then you have magicians as well. And the funny thing about magicians is, and there's a quote by James Randi, he talks about this. He says, magicians are the most honest people in the world. They'll tell you straight up that they're going to fool you. Well, he didn't say straight up. I added that bit. um, but you know, and then they'll do it. You know, the world. Uh, you know, these people in power. You kind of have to look at them as magicians in a lot of ways. You know, they'll tell you the truth in there somewhere if you look for it. If you actually pay attention. Like there's strong evidence for that. Like they'll hide the truth in plain sight right in front of you, and you won't even realize it's there. You know, unless you're, you know, read in or you're in the know about that particular thing. Like they've been doing this for centuries at this point because they know that there are people with curious minds that are interested in the world around them and interested in understanding, uh, you know, like the secrets and the mysteries that the world has to offer. You know, because the world is very strange. I mean, just looking at like the various different things within the world, like uh, aquatic life comes to mind. There's so many strange and unusual creatures just below us in the water, even without even considering what could be on other planets. And yeah, I'm loving the discussion, but let's get to some of the other hands.
You guys touched on a lot of amazing topics. I just want to touch on a couple and I'll pass on really fast. My phone's going to die. But I'm really thankful for spaces like this. I have been trying to tell my story, well, honestly, since I was 7, but publicly since for the past 17 years. And I have gone to every source you could possibly think of. So I know that a lot of people, you know, like, wonder why certain people go to different people. It's just because a lot of people don't want to hear this type of things, especially when there's so many different factors and I don't have all the answers. That's why I'm asking, you know. The way I describe it is dump a bunch of puzzles on the floor upside down and then have to sift through them and put them together. I always knew I was adopted, but I didn't know I was kidnapped. That wasn't the narrative that I was given. And, you know, even though I went through a lot of this abuse as a child, that wasn't the lens that I viewed it from. It was my normal. So having to process this stuff as an adult while you're still going through stuff and, you know, my dad being murdered and then, you know, finding my birth mother through a dream and, you know, getting all this validation. And, you know, I was angry, if I'm going to be honest. When I first got all these answers, it pissed me off because I'm like, my grandma works for the CIA. My grandpa did. My dad, like, he tried to go AWOL, but, you know, ultimately he lost that, you know, battle. And it just felt like so many adults in my life betrayed me. Like they had the ability and the power. They had power, legitimate power, and they they didn't say anything. And I mean, coming, as a mom, that really bothers me because I feel like survivors have to jump through unrealistic hoops just to be heard. And there's been periods in my life where I didn't have the emotional capacity or the fight left to keep going. And I ran off of pure spite and vengeance that I was going to make these people pay if it's the last fucking thing I do. And that's why I post everything and anything I can, redacted and non-redacted, irregardless if it puts me in trouble. That's why if I can find a safe space, I'm willing to name names. I know I know some people, and I have screenshots, messages since 2008 to prove it. I want to find the right place, and I would like to deep dive on some of the torture methods and maybe read or post some of my journals, because I'm 36, but I've been writing since age 7. And I watched Matilda and Harriet the Spy, and all I got from those movies was kids could hold these adults accountable if you had evidence. So I started writing down the drug names, doctors, drawing maps, tunnels, everything that I could think of, because I might lose this battle, but I'm going to win the war. I never understood why, whenever my dad had me for those 2 weeks there in the summer and every other weekend, why I had to go run PT every morning before school, or why he taught me all these endless stuff that I'd never used. Why don't you know how to make a bow drill? Why don't I need to know all this survival stuff? But without that discipline, without him utilizing the short amount of time that he had, I'd have not made it. I'd have not. I've been spiritually attacked, and thankfully I have evidence on that. But I've been physically attacked. I've been stalked. I've been harassed. I've had social media accounts shut down. I've been attacked from multiple angles, and I just want to let them know, because there's people that follow me. There's a lot of my family that abused me that are on this app that actively follow me that you'll never see say anything about me. And I've been just trying to provoke them to sue me, because if I can get them to sue me, that's an easy open shut case to counter sue. But unfortunately, they're not taking the bait yet.
Thanks, Angela. I appreciate you being here. And thank you for sharing your documents and shit. Anybody can speak whatever truth they got in these rooms, right? And it's very important that each individual use their filters, go research and find stuff. And when I'm not going to speak for Garrett, but one of the things I will say is I like information that has documents and things that we can vet out. And we're not going to get anywhere in this subject if we're just kind of, I think he's like, we're not going to get anywhere telling everybody, hey, guess what? UFOs are real. We have crash tech. Anecdotal story follows, right? We need more. We need to do more. And that's kind of where I lean on it, right? So a lot of this stuff, and we can stand, speak your truth, but I really want you motherfuckers to produce documents, put them in these damn threads. And I shouldn't have said the MF word. That was very bad of me. But my point being is, post shit, right? Walk me to where you're at. I have no problem changing my mind, but I like documents, links, sources, because I love that stuff. Penny, I'm so excited to hear you. I haven't talked to you in forever.
Thank you, Shane. Hello, everybody. It's really nice to be here. Wonderful space. Lots and lots going on in it. I'm actually going to be a real pain in the ass, and I'm going to go right back to what Open Eye was saying, because I don't know if he's left or not. But it was going back to this idea of groups to do with the whole disclosure process and what's involved in it and what isn't. And I'm very much thinking of the interviews with Daniel Sheehan recently, and the setup of the group of 9 that will be involved in the whole overseeing the disclosure process, and it's the manner in which it will be carried out. And what I find quite uncomfortable is that you wonder who's going to be on that. You wonder where they're going to be pulling the information from, and you'd want to see a name like Jacques Vallée on there. You'd want to see some really key people with great longevity in the game there. And I know that Daniel Sheehan is one of those. But again, he's a wonderful legal mind. And it seems to me, sort of almost bouncing back to some of the things that Mistress was saying, is that there's always a nugget of truth in everything that's given to us. I think that's the best liars. They always hold the truth, just an element of it. And I find that along with so much of what we've been given and so much documentation, especially on one of the interviews that I heard, I cannot remember the name of the people, but it was to do with the amount of documentation. It's a recent interview, gods, I'm trying to think of the name now. But basically they were saying that there are significant forged documents actually held within the military industrial machine that are actually created there in order to subvert the very nature of the industrial machine that's trying to get disclosure out in a warped manner. So you're actually warping the process that's already warped. So for me, it's and again, going back to a lot of what Andrew says, is that I have to feel my way with my gut on a lot of this, because I think when you have had experiences, and however that might be, your percussive response to what's happening to you from this other, then you're resonating back in a way that phenomena finds the best way to interact with you, to get a response, to get you to notice, to get you to pay attention. But I also think that, so I have to feel my way through to a degree in order to disseminate the shit from the, excuse my language, from the good stuff. And so for me, what I'm doing degree by degree is that I take it back to a Gaia perspective, and I take it back to a self-humanity perspective. And I think when I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the manner in which the whole process is beginning to come about, I have to see whether it sits inside with me in a moral perspective. So to do with this group of 9 that's coming up, I would want to see a very strong ethical component to what they're doing, in terms of, it's all great to say this is down to national security, and I can respect national security and all of those sorts of things, but national security was MK Ultra and MJ12, and some really disgusting and really unpleasant elements was part of that sort of national protective umbrella. And so for me, when it comes to the whole disclosure process, it's like you say, Shane, I think an echo chamber is a really dangerous thing, because it allows that additional warping of what's been going on to be literally progressive. So I'm really grateful for people that come up and, throw me a curveball and say, well, have you thought about this? Have you looked at this? One of the amazing things that I heard from somebody bouncing around again, sorry, Shane, to do with crop circles, was take these images of crop circles, and however they're made, however they may not be made, put those into an autistic mind. They will turn it into a 3D diagram, schematic, and they can produce these extraordinary 3D schematics of what they're looking at. And it's I just think we've got to turn it on its head a little bit. Sorry, Shane, I'm too rambling, but it's like there's so much in it. I'm starting to, I am feeling my way through, and I'm feeling my way through with extraordinary people who are expanding my mind and expanding my soul. And it's an incredible journey. And if we're just here for an incredible journey, I'm really bloody pleased I jumped on with the people here, because it's vital. It's vital to us to change as people, and it's vital for what we're going through as a world. And it's not some small sideline thing. If we have this disclosure and they're talking about national security, the whole idea of national security is turned on its head. So national security becomes something completely different, and humanity becomes what is key. And at the moment, humanity is the thing that's being absolutely sliced and diced. And we need a lot more humanity and a lot more soul than we do, the sort of the mess. Sorry, that's my
Can I
rant.
ask you, Penny, quickly? I really want, before Garrett goes. Sorry, Garrett. I just want to quickly ask Penny. Like, is it really? You said it like the board of 9, or those 9 people that should be ethically guided and have morals, etc., etc. We all agree with that. But is it, from the whole preface, is it really disclosure when it's more? What are they disclosing? Like, they're charged with disclosure, right? So, are they disclosing technology? Are they disclosing ET? It's more about, if we look at the definition, it's a phenomenon. And so how can you disclose what you don't understand? So is it more a case of they're charged with discovery and in telling us what they've discovered, or is that disclosure? Or, I mean, like, what are they disclosing? Like, in a nutshell, is it technology or is it extraterrestrial life? Like, what are they actually charged with? Like, sort of what's the whole preface for the whole sort of, like, the legislation being, like,
Yeah.
being brought into?
Well, I think initially, from what I'm hearing and from what I'm understanding, the reason why they've got somebody like Daniel Sheehan there is because at the moment they're dealing with tech. They're dealing with something of tangible nature that they can say ownership of. And that's why they've got a big fat lawyer on there. No disrespect. Daniel is not fat. Sorry. It's not meant like that. It's just, they're going to take big legal concepts and they're going to shove that in there because, forgive me, but there is a great ideology in the States that relies on who sues who and when. And I don't think that's a misnomer. I think that's true. And the government is going to cover its ass one way or another. So I think initially they start with tech because tech is the place that most non-people who are not steeped in this, like, goddamn treacle. Tech's the easy, most comprehensible place to start. And then they
It
move on
keeps it in the
to,
realm of it still could be us debate, though. It doesn't sort of like
yeah.
hit a home run as far as saying it belongs to like non-human. Like the NHI hasn't been sort of, it's an acronym used, but it's not actually in the legislation. It's not even on the ARO website, is it?
No, I think the problem with it is, I mean, are they going to come down to intellectual property? That's going to be a laugh. But I think from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing, is that they're going to be trying to attribute boxes so that we can cope with better something that comes up that is just not in the box at all. Because if this is as far out as I personally think it is, which is, a whole thing to do with collective hive mind, all things to do with our capabilities as human beings, I think has been suppressed and crushed for decades. I think it's been suppressed and crushed probably through things right through from religion all the way through. I think our ability to access this is going to be fed to us in drips. So they're starting where we can access it most obviously for our brains. Does that sound? I don't know if that answers the question. Sorry, Brett. Sorry, Benno.
That's a good answer.
Go ahead, Garrett, and we're gonna close up after this. So, what you got, brother? I know you got a lot now.
Yo, okay. So I wasn't gonna speak again, but that Y Mars SAR account said something, and I wanted to ask them a question because I, as I said, put up or shut up, and I see in their profile they say that they're against the cabals, and I wanted to know, in their estimation, who is the cabal? That's the first question, and then two is who can we count on to stop this cabal? And I just want to just listen to what you say. And yeah, and if you could, please share what books you read your information in, and I'd be happy to read them and check them out, bro.
Well, thanks for answering the question. You have the right not to know and the right to know the truth. So before you weren't interested in my whack account, now you want to ask me questions, which is fine. I'm more friendly Magus. What is a Magus? It's what Aleister Crowley was trying to graduate to, but then he went paranoid and died because he failed. So one of the Substacks you linked to, maybe that's your Substack, is interested in the Book of Cthulhu and Puharich and these Aleister Crowley neophytes. They do magic, like the consciousness magic of a sort. So I never read any of these books. I don't have to. I simply remembered my skills, and my skills are greater than theirs. If you want to know what those skills are, well, you can read the Book of Cthulhu for some of these skills. Does that answer your question?
No, in other words, you're declining to answer is what I stacked that up to be.
You're
Did you say?
declining
Did
to
you say Cthulhu?
understand. That's
You
what's on
don't think
Garrett's
I've read the
Substack, right?
book that I posted on my profile?
I don't know if that was his book. That was his
I'm
Substack.
asking you, let me repeat the question just to make it clear, because you didn't answer any part of my question. I'm not trying to be a jerk. In your profile, it says that you're an independent from the cabal. And I wanted to know who is the cabal. And if you know that, please tell us so we can learn more about it and be more vigilant citizens. I also asked, who can we count on to stop this cabal? Which I hope you have. And if you don't know, that's okay too. And then the last thing I wanted to say was just like, I don't even remember the last thing. If you answered that alone, I would be very pleased. But the book. If you have a book that you've read this information in, please tell us. Or if you have a source or a military person or a
I
doctor,
addressed, yeah, I
please
was
tell us,
addressing the
and
last
we
question.
can
I'm
can
saying
put
that,
all that.
yeah, I'm addressing your last question. Okay. The last question was, where's my knowledge come from? So my knowledge is not coming from any of the books. It just comes from my skills and my memories.
Yikes.
And as for the cabal, well, you look at the world today. I mean, there's plenty of conspiracy theories. I don't want to tell you this because you told me you don't want to hear it. So I'm respecting your free will, Garrett.
No, if you'd like, I can repeat those three questions again because
You
I'm
want?
getting good at
I
repeating
know
them.
what your question. You asked me what the cabal was, but I'm respecting your free will not to know all the whack stuff on my conspiracy Substack and my Twitter. So I'm just telling you, just look in the world. There's plenty of conspiracies what the cabal is. The Red Shields, the Banksters. What do you want to know? I mean, it's all out there. The books have been written. You don't need
So
me to save you.
who can we trust?
You can trust no one. It's all fake. It's all Cthulhu. It's all dark magic. I'm just a friendly magus. I don't know anything. You can't trust me.
I think that's a good place to cap it off, Shane.
Yeah, Garrett. You
Yeah,
can't
let's
trust
fucking awful.
anybody
All right,
here.
guys.
Don't listen to it. Don't listen to it, man.
Let's
It's
all
all
take a
untrue.
break. All right, Penny, you're gonna end this and you're gonna make us cry happy tears, right? That's what you're gonna do.
Okay. One thing I would say to that is I wouldn't try and pin certain things on Aleister Crowley without having known a great deal about. Maybe it helps if you know someone that knew him, but I would say I wouldn't. I would be very careful of the interpretation in which Aleister Crowley is viewed. And the other thing that I'd say is that the whole thing that I've enjoyed about being a part of this space and coming in late to it and hearing all the different things is that everybody here is passionate. And yes, I believe in the passion of this, and I think that the passion of this is going to grow this. Take it out, it will reach lots and lots and lots of people who don't understand it and don't talk about it at the moment. And it doesn't matter in what form that goes out. The percussive energy of what we're saying and the resonance of what we're saying is going to vibrate out. It's not some gooey, nice, soft cloud, fluffy thing. It's actually really hard and it's really difficult, and it takes a great deal of thinking about to bend our minds into all these different shapes and forms. But ultimately, we're creating something that's going to allow us to progress as a human populace. And we're the start of that. And everything has to start somewhere. And we're the seed of it. And I think it's very, very important that it grows. So we've got to throw out elements of trust somewhere, because if we don't start doing that, there's no thread for it to carry on through with. So to me, these threads of speaking and warmth and intelligence and argument and all of it is all critical for the movement forwards. So I'm very proud to be a part of it. B, I've got to say it every time, I love you. Thank you so much to everyone. You're amazing. Take care.
Thank you, Penny. I appreciate it. Mistress, go ahead and we're gonna wrap it up after this.
Yeah, as for who the cabal are, I sort of answered it when I spoke. They're magicians. And who do we trust to counter the cabal? Other magicians. You know? If you want to learn discernment, if you want to really find the truth in anything, learn what magicians and illusionists learned, because there's some really interesting rabbit holes to go down there, where some magicians claimed to work with demons in order to do some of the things that they were doing for their shows, for their like performances and things. Like there's some really strange and unusual things there. You know, what is happening is the veil is being lifted, right? Like, and we're noticing that there's a shift, a constant change in the energy and the frequency of everything going on around us, and eventually, you know, their illusions, they're not gonna be as effective because we're waking up, we're seeing past that veil, you know? Like that's all it is. It's fucking illusion magic, you know? That like and how you see past that is you learn how they did some of these tricks, you learn how they did all that kind of thing, you know? It's you know, misdirection and sleight of hand and all these skills are 100% used to throw the wool over people's eyes. And it's been done for a very long time. Now, dark magic and the Aleister Crowley kind of stuff, that's a different kind of magic. That's magic with a K. Um, you know, that's looking into like, you know, that gets into the duality of man, you know, order and chaos. Effectively, like if you look into it even further, you realize that, you know, the world runs on a principle of duality. You know, there's good and evil, there's light and dark. Um, Both of them, if you go even further than that, different ways of accomplishing the same goals. Like, you know, it's fascinating stuff. But yeah, like if you want the answer as to who the Cabal is and how we fight them, study magicians. Look into that rabbit hole because you'll find some interesting and relevant things that relate to high strangeness, and it connects to everything. And I mean everything.
Can you
Like,
please name
yeah.
one book or anything that you're talking about where I can see these truths that you're espousing? Like, please just name a book or name the research that you've done so we can be on the same page, because so far I've just heard fluff.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Yeah. Um, there's a book that goes into this. It's called Hocus Pocus. It's by a guy named Paul Kiev. And he actually showed up on the set of Harry Potter, and he like went around sort of showing people magic tricks on the set of Harry Potter. In fact, there's a foreword in that book by Daniel Radcliffe. Um, and yeah, it goes into the sort of demonic side of it, how these people claim to work with demons. It talks about a number of historical magicians, even some that I had not heard of previously, like Ionia, who was a female magician. Like, there's some really cool stuff, and it also teaches you how to do, like step by step, how to do some of these tricks. Um, and what you begin to realize is like, you know, it completely changes your perception of the world around you and uh, how it all came to be in a lot of ways. Because, like I say, they use a lot of these tactics that magicians use in other stuff. Even today, you know, misdirection, having you focus on one thing while they're doing something else somewhere. You know, even other people in other spaces have pointed it out, you know. Oh, it's misdirection. You know, oh, it's a distraction, right? And that's
All right,
because,
Mr. S.A.
yeah,
I like everything you have to say. I'm only interrupting because I'm going to have to wrap this space up. But one thing
No
I
problem.
think Garrett was trying to say is we speak in a lot of anecdotal terms. And if you take anecdotes in one hand and if you shit in your other, there's no difference. So what we need to start doing is, right, we can have these conversations. Let's start posting those books, those like I'm doing, right? Let's post those threads, those sources, that information. So we're not just talking out our asses. That's what Garrett, I think, is asking, right? He wants you to walk him to where he's at. He's not even saying that he won't get there. Just show him the books, give him that information instead of saying, I read this somewhere, right? I think that's what I'm getting at too. And here's the reason I want you guys to start doing it. I live for that. If you post it, I probably haven't